Oh, right, everybody. Welcome to the Around the Ballpark podcast. We are live at a very special start time of 5:30 Eastern. I know we usually come to you a little bit later, but tonight we are celebrating 3,000, putting that into the atmosphere. 5,000, that's going to happen at some point. But 3,000 subscribers. And Jacob, thank you so much for joining with us tonight from the Royals Rundown podcast. I know you got jet a little bit early, but I know you want to just come on, even if it's just for a few minutes. So we appreciate that very, very much. So how you been, Jacob? How's things been going? I've been keeping an eye on your posts every day and everything like that, but just want to see how you're doing and all that good stuff.
Well, I appreciate that, Mike. And yeah, no, I'm super, honestly, I'm really happy, and as silly as it might sound, I'm honored for you to ask me to come on, even just for a little bit, on such a special episode. You know, this is, your channel's growth has been really like fun to watch. And it's fun to not only see the numbers grow, but for you to build this community around the ballpark, pun not intended. But I appreciate that I can be a part of it how I can, and super stoked to see that 5,000 subscriber episode that you're talking about.
Yes, and 5,000. It looks around by the end of the year. That sounds like a good New Year's Eve. I'm going to try to make that happen. I'll see if I know anybody else. But it's funny because you get to a certain number and you're like, I don't know anyone else. I got to find people who know people. But we'll make it happen. But honestly, probably the best thing about this whole experience is that I would say, I think this is episode 91. I would say maybe 70 or so of the episodes we were fortunate enough to have a guest on. Then we did like 20 where it was just me and Darren just talking in like the fast hour of podcasting. And I would say out of the 70 people, like I'm at least in contact with like 90% of them, even if it's just, hey, just checking in, how you doing? I think that's the most important thing, more than the show itself, is just building those relationships. That sort of thing. And like, if something cool happens on a Royals game, I could shoot you a quick message. Like, did you see that? Or if there's one person who knows I'm a Mets fan, and I think, or whatever, and they were like down by so much. And I turned the game off because I had other things going on. And they're like, hey, you're still watching, right? I was like, no, what'd I do? So I think that's always fun, is to be able to still have that communication and stuff like that. So
for sure. It's awesome, man. So keep it up. You're doing it right.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I know you got some stuff that you got going on tonight as well. So I appreciate you hopping on. And
of course. And man, it's brutal out here. So I'm out in Virginia. I know it sounds strange, a Kansas City Royals fan who lives in Virginia. My co-host lives in the Carolinas. So we're both in a weird dynamic, but we are. It sounds silly, and if you have anyone out in the mountainous desert region, they're probably going to scoff at this, but the East Coast is getting the early stages of a really bad heat wave. And since we live so close to the ocean, it is just miserably humid. And it's just terrible out here. It's making all the electronics go to the fritz. So that's why I'm sitting outside on my phone, unfortunately.
Oh yeah. The whole, I was able to go to SeaWorld on Thursday for Juneteenth. They had the vacation day, and I was able to get out there with a couple friends of mine. And during lunch, we're like, oh, well, they have this whole air-conditioned seating room, and you go in there and just like nobody, of course, all the tables are full. So not only did we not get to have a table, we had to stand and eat, and it was just, we're eating with this, I think it was called a tender tower or something. It was really good, but as we're eating it, the sweat's just dripping off our face onto the tenders and fries. Oh, this is nasty. And everything was broken that day at the park. Like, I'm glad we got to go, but just the fans weren't working. They were out of ice. The only soda flavors that they had left were the bad ones that nobody wants. And if you did lucky you were enough to get it, it was like all the flavor, it was gone. It was just like, that when you hit Dr. Pepper and it comes out clear and you're like, okay.
Oh no. Okay, hold on, Mike. So what's a bad soda in your mind? What is one of the worst sodas out there that folks like?
Well, the worst of the worst, if you ever get to go to Epcot, Disney, they have like flavors around the world. It's like this ice station cool place that they have. And they have this flavor from Italy that you try, and it's just absolute nasty. And they make videos. People make videos. Oh, you got to try it, and people don't know, and they just take a big slug, and it's disgusting. But outside of that, just in general, on the freestyle machine, I would say, the sparkling. I am a big sparkling water guy for the most part, but if you get any of those at the theme parks and you put ice with that, like that's the one drink you have to have without ice. You have a little bit of ice, and it makes the thing just unbearable.
I agree.
And then when you're talking about like the the diet, Mr. Pibb. I'm a big Mr. Pibb, Dr. Pepper guy, but once you start getting into like it's okay, like the cherry and the cherry vanilla, that's okay. But for whatever reason, all these flavors ventured into grapes and limes, and like Mr. Pibb should not be lime, it should not be grape. Like I don't know what's going on. So that was pretty gross. And that does not quench your thirst. We're sitting there at the Orca Stadium about to watch we're all unbearable heat, and you just want something that's going to quench your thirst. And that's because that's the only option they had. And I was like, wow, this is, you're putting it down because you have to, but
well, see, that's why you got to ask folks what a bad soda is, so I know not to try that. So thank you, Mike, for sacrificing your taste buds there. I appreciate it.
Yes, I did it for the people. but Jacob, I know you have to run here in a few, and just again, thank you so much. And just share, if you could, before before you go, where anyone that is watching this can find you in the Royals Rundown podcast on social media.
Oh yeah, we're primarily on Twitter at Royal Rundown Pod. We talk about the Kansas City Royals. Like Mike said before we got started, it's baseball by 80% of the time. Everything else in the world about 20% of the time. That's kind of how it is with us too. But no, it's if you do anything today, make sure you share around the ballpark with a friend. I know Facebook baseball groups. We get kind of locked into Twitter, because that's where all the updates are, and that's where the discourse is for the most part. Like, folks are kind of starved for baseball stuff on Facebook, so I highly suggest, if you want to help around the ballpark, go share them on Facebook, and you won't regret it. Trust me.
Thank you so much. Yeah, really, really appreciate it. It means the world to help to get to this 3,000 number. So thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your night. I'll definitely check out the content when I get a chance after the show, and all sort of thing, and enjoy Royals baseball. I finally get to go to my first regular season game a week from tomorrow, going to the Rays and the A's in Tampa in the battle of the teams with no home. So that'll be a good time. So I'll let you know how that experience goes. But
I can't wait to hear about it, Mike.
Yes. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye. And so, guys, thank you so much for being on with us. We are kind of in the pre-show. We just had Jacob on with the Royals Rundown podcast. So that was an honor that he was able to jump on with us for just a few minutes. But we have so many guests that will be jumping on throughout the evening. It's going to be a much longer podcast than usual. And so we appreciate you jumping on. We're going to have Darren's going to be hopping on here shortly. And we're going to have guests all the way for the next foreseeable future, every 20 minutes or so. We've got quite a few guests lined up for you. So sit back, relax, enjoy the show. We see about 10 of you guys online right now. So it's just me for a few minutes, and then everybody else will be jumping on Royal Rumble style. We're going to have a new guest pretty much every 20 minutes. Once it hits 5:50, we're going to have our first official guest on of the show. And there is Darren is with us now. So, I thought I saw him. Never mind. Wrong guy. Let me put you back in the queue. I'm going to put you in the queue. Just sit there in the queue.
All right.
Quiet. So Darren, just it came together a little bit sooner than we wanted. So Jacob with the Royals Rundown podcast wanted to jump on. He couldn't make it for more than a couple minutes. So I just wanted to honor that. So I had him jump on with me at 5:30. So that's all that was. So, yeah. So it'll just be the two of us until about 5:50. So if you need to kind of jump for a few and grab something, totally fine. But our first guest will be on right at 5:50 for the next set. So
I'm here.
Okay. And we're here for a long haul. So if you
what I'm going to do then is after I read the commercial, I'll skip away for a second and plug in my phone. That actually worked very nice.
Okay. So let's do that now. And then I'll just continue to chat until our first guest will be on at 5:50. So if you'd be back at 5:50, that'd be cool.
I'll be back for that. Yeah. I'll be back for that.
Okay. Do you want to do that now? Okay. So we are guys.
Let's go live, right? And then I'll do the commercial.
We are live right now, actually.
Oh, we're live. We are live. I'm making goofy noises. I love everything about that. All right.
Yes.
So.
All right.
All right. Hey, everybody.
There's 11 of people on now. So the 11 people.
Level 11 of you. How are you? That's 10 plus 1.
Plus 1. Yes. The amount of wins that the Rockies have had since 2023. Yes, that is the number.
So, are we going to talk about the Met catcher going down?
We are, and when I read that, you know what happened?
No. I love that. I love that. You know, that does not get old, my friend. That is our official thing. I don't want to call it a mascot because then we got to pay royalties. It's a thing.
Right. He'll make an appearance at least once an episode.
Yep.
We'll figure that out. But yes, very happy about the move. And so I know Christopher wanted to be on with us tonight, but he had some things come up. But we mentioned, of course, we couldn't do anything that we do here without Around the Ballpark podcast. So Darren, if you would mind just sharing a few words with those listening.
Speaking of Christopher, Fort Pierce, Palm Bay, are tax problems weighing you down? Are you behind on filings? Are you facing a lien? Nashville Tax Solutions, here with the expertise and dedication you need. Their experienced team handles the IRS, so you don't have to. There he is in the corner, top. Well, to my right. Yes, my right. But don't just take our word for it. Hear what the clients have to say, because they say it best. Chris Bennett and his team turned a nightmare into peace of mind. They're sharp, they're honest, and they truly care. So don't let tax stress take over your life. Call 855-627-4829. Visit NashvilleTaxSolutions.com or email info@NashvilleTaxSolutions.com today. Nashville Tax Solutions, real help and real results. So I'm going to let our listeners and viewers in on a little secret. Ready?
Okay, we're ready for you.
It's tough to read copy when the sun is blasting off my phone and I can't read it.
That's why we normally go live much later, because of the sun factor. But yes, it's unusual. It's kind of nice every once in a while to do this a little earlier than the late hours. But it's okay. So when we hit that 4K mark and whenever that is, we'll probably go live early again. So, but thank you, Chris. He's very happy. He's very excited in that photo up there. So Darren, I know you got to do a few things before 5:50, so go ahead and do that. I will keep everybody entertained. I'll just kind of keep doing some moves. I'll do this, that, and whatever. So, guys, thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and yes. So, guys, as you know, tonight, like we said, there's going to be some different guests all throughout the evening. 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there. So, if you can't join us for the entire time, that's okay. Just hit that like button, smash that subscribe button if you haven't already. Share with friends and family. Turn your notifications on, please. But just wanted to say thank each and every one of you. And yes, and we've got Jake DeMarco in the chat. Hopefully, we'll hear from him a little bit later as well. You mentioned got to see if Night of Champions even happens in Saudi at all now with the possibility. Yes, I think refreshing the feed all day not all day, but on X. I did see something come out from Saudi government in terms of pausing certain things, stuff. So I think they're going to have to, obviously, with the show tomorrow night, sooner than later, make that decision and figure out a different venue. And I think putting a new event, giving them another event later in the calendar, I think that's the easier part of the two. It's just a matter of can they actually get something thrown together in time for that to happen, in a different venue. It's not as easy to sell that many seats in a short amount of time. So it'll be very, very interesting to kind of see what happens there. We know that some of their shows in certain cities can sell out that quickly, but we don't know what other kind of events are already taking place there and stuff. So we'll definitely, we'll put the pause on that, but we'll definitely have a chat about that later on tonight. Hopefully some WWE content, all things WWE. Adam Pearce was just on X a little bit ago talking about that Braun Breaker is going to be challenging Penta tomorrow night on Monday Night Raw. I really think that 2.5 hour, 2 hour, 25-minute spot is perfect for Raw. I know sometimes you still got the commercials go a little bit long and whatnot, but I would like to see the occasional 3-hour show or adjustments to that if it's warranted. We don't want to make it 3 hours just to make it 3 hours. My concern, now everybody's on the excited that SmackDown is moved to 2-hour train. Now I'm not saying that I'm against it at all. Definitely needs to go to 2 hours. However, what obviously, with the exception of worrying about the talent that's may not get on the show. We haven't seen Phoenix here in a little bit. We haven't seen some of the other guys, so that's a little bit concerning. But my main concern is the commercials, right? So on a 3-hour show, I did some digging into it, and I think in a 3-hour show, 51 total minutes were from commercials on an average night. So now you kick that to a 2-hour show, potentially could be about 31 minutes of commercials. and then the video package in the beginning, and so I'm definitely concerned about the amount of commercial. It's a 2-hour show with commercials. If it's not fascinating television and it's not compelling TV, then it may not feel like a quick show. Like we want more of it. It may feel like that's all we get. So I'm not that person that's like it's got to be 3. It would be nice if it was like a 2:15, something like that, 2:10, because then with those commercials we're still getting good content. But I'm hoping. We'll see. I think that's going to happen sometime in July. They were saying, so we got a few left here. Who knows where SmackDown might be this Friday if things change. So, I don't think we'll be seeing anything at the Performance Center. Not saying that, but I think they're going to have to evaluate some decisions and all that stuff. So some WWE talk later on in the show. But guys, thank you so much for joining on with us. I'm going to hit our video now, and I'll be back with you shortly. So thank you so much. Stay with us for the Around the Ballpark podcast episode number 90.
Hold up. Did we just hit 3,000 subscribers? Somebody break out the confetti. Let's celebrate with sports, WWE, and July 4th madness. First up, sports fans, what's your go-to stadium snack? Hot dogs, nachos, or ice cream in a helmet? Drop your pick in the comments. Now, if you could visit any sports venue, where would you go? I'm thinking front row at a WWE SmackDown, chairs flying, drama at max level. And speaking of drama, 4th of July is coming. Fireworks, grilling, and that one uncle who takes cornhole way too seriously. Thank you for helping us hit 3K subs. Seriously, you guys rock. Tell me your favorite July 4th tradition, your dream sports arena, or your wildest WWE moment. Let's make this party legendary, right here in the comments.
Yes, so we are going to make tonight legendary. That is awesome. Shout out to my folks over at the AI Studios in Parts Unknown. But thank you guys so much again. I see a few of you on X, a few of you on Facebook, on YouTube, coming to you live, all 3. And so tonight, let me go ahead and go over again how tonight is going to go down. Darren will be rejoining us shortly. And then right in about 3 or 4 minutes from now, our very first guest will be on with us Royal Rumble style. He has no idea on who any of the guests are tonight. And I believe, things change. There's always cancellations, things like that. But we have full slate going into close to the 9 o'clock hour with a new guest every 20 minutes. Some guests that have been on the show before, some guests that have not. So some may stick around for a little bit longer than their time, and then some may have to get off here and there. But throughout the night, we're going to have someone new pop on. We're going to have that famous countdown clock to let you know that someone else is about to join the party tonight. So please, the best way to let us know, interact with us, let us know that you're here. And the best way to do that is to put notes in the comments. We will get your comment on screen throughout the show as well. So if you have any questions about whatever the heck we are talking about, that is the best way to communicate, is to let us know that you're here. A lot of times I know we had quite the amount of viewers a week ago tonight. And so you guys let us know you were here in drones, and we really, really appreciate that. Really, really helped by being able to see the comments. Otherwise, sometimes I know that you have it on in the background and all that good stuff. But there's so much to talk about in the baseball world. So much to talk about with the NBA Finals happening tonight, Game 7, Oklahoma City Thunder and the Indiana Pacers. The NHL Stanley Cup playoffs are now over and done with. Florida Panthers took it Game 6 back-to-back championships for the Panthers. A lot of times in football and baseball, the Florida teams get a bad rep, but in hockey, they are killing it. Three consecutive Stanley Cup finals for the Florida Panthers, 2 championships in a row. Of course, you know that the Tampa Bay Lightning have been in and out of the Stanley Cup just prior before that. So Florida's really dominating. The 2 Florida teams that we have are really dominating in the NHL. So that's awesome to see. And there's that talk we mentioned a week ago on the podcast of a new franchise possibly in Atlanta, possibly being the next NHL franchise. That doesn't come together overnight, but that's something that is exciting to think about, that the potential for more growth and that sort of thing. So, a lot there in the sports world. And, of course, the NFL, the National Football League, already saw some college football tickets going on sale. My wife and I are big UCF fans. We at least make one game a year. at the what used to be called the Bounce House Stadium in Central Florida. But it's always a great time with us. And Darren is back with us as well. And so, Darren, I'm just letting all our people know that before each guest, we'll have that Royal Rumble style feel to kind of welcome them in. And Darren, I mentioned too, has no idea who any of these guests are. If they are real, they may all be AI guests for all I know. Who knows what's going to happen? I don't even know who some of these people are. Maybe we'll find out. That's going to be fun. So there's low key legit.
By the way, how loud were those cicadas?
Oh my goodness! So I heard them before I saw the cicada comment on the top. So I was just like, and then I was like, oh, that makes total sense why he would say that. But yeah, that was a perfect. It almost made it for a better video. So
I think so.
Yeah, definitely. So, and I will have to, of course, as you know, when you have random guests on, you stuff got to check the social media in case something comes up and couldn't make it or whatever. And so if that happens, we'll just go with the flow. But we've introed everybody in. So truth be told, not only does Darren not know, but we have no format sheet for tonight. There's no agenda, anything like that. It's going to be person pops on and we're going to talk about whatever it is that we decide to talk about. And so again, just please interact with us. That's the best way to have fun. We want to have fun with this. That was 3,000 subscribers.
3,000
in the comments. But Darren, before our first guest pops here in any second, how was your week? Anything stand out to you this week that
so there's something that kind of tethers, if I'm going to use that word, tethers into some of the other videos we're doing about movies. Oh my gosh, these people with 28 years later, they either liked it or they hated it, and these two people cannot get along. You think we're going to solve the Middle East crisis? You think we're going to solve who should be president? We can't even agree to disagree about a movie. Oh my gosh. If you didn't like the movie, it's because you're not educated enough. If you like the movie, what are you into? Some weird thing you just want to impress people like you somehow. Just like it or don't like it.
Right. That's so true. And alert, we have our first guest in the queue.
Yay.
So let's see what we can do to make this happen. Oh, right. So, of course, I have to have the genius behind this idea. It is all her idea to have this countdown clock, believe it or not. And so I had to have my better half on with us first and foremost. So happy to be here. Eileen, we got 20 minutes. We're going to talk about all things Tampa Bay Rays. But thank you for being our first guest. 3,000 subscribers. So cool. So thank you for jumping on with us. We can't hear you, though. That's the only bad thing.
Microphone's not working.
We cannot hear you. We see you moving around, but we don't hear you. Oh, no.
It's all good.
It's okay. We'll work on that. Hopefully, it'll work out.
Okay.
She's not too far away from me, though.
I'm going to make some shadow puppets while we wait. There's no shadow, but that's okay.
If needed, I could jump in the room and help with it. So she's not too far because I know where she is. Yeah.
You're breaking the imagery. You're on different countries.
Yes, I'm on the East Coast. She's on the West Coast. No.
Yes. In fact, my family is on the West Coast, right? My daughter's here. He's saying,
okay, I'm going to come help. All
right. I'll keep everybody entertained. Ready? So, do you have a cicada problem in your neck of the woods? Did you hear how loud that thing was? It is amazing. And by the way, if you've seen 28 years later, tell me, did you like it? See, now here's the thing. The whole Jimmy's, I know, but if you got to explain it, it's not because people are ignorant. It's not because of whatever. Now, listen, I didn't know that. So if you've seen one of my social media posts I made yesterday, I kind of compared it to a movie I really appreciate and really enjoyed. I went to the premiere called Candyland. I suggest if you're over the age of 17, because there's a lot of nudity, see the movie Candyland. It's a horror movie that's really based on what it's like in the world of truck stops. Now, that is a very American thing. And the whole Jimmy situation, I knew about that but I didn't realize how far they went because that was just like a weird ending. And plus, I don't want to give it away. Plus, something that happened in the middle of the movie 28 years later that has happened before, right? In some of the other zombie movies, except the outcome was a little different. But we've seen this before. And then, did we?
Can you hear us now?
Yes, I can't.
Oh, so close.
Oh, yes, I hear you.
I was gonna say,
okay.
just repeat everything.
Oh, wow.
I love him.
Yes.
I love him. He's handsome.
Yes, he is. Yes. And he's vivacious and perky.
Yes.
Okay,
He's
we're back.
spontaneous. And he cooks and he cleans and he's all around the perfect husband.
Yes, he is.
Thank you. So we are going to talk all things Tampa Bay Rays. We got to, right? Of course. So where would you like? You are the guest of honor. So what topic do you want to discuss first on these super hottest team in baseball, Tampa Bay Rays?
I know, right?
Inside.
So I was looking up some fun stats, some fun facts, and one of the fun facts that I looked up was that they have won 22 out of the last 30 games. Talk about a turnaround. I mean, that's insane to me. I know they've done it before. They did it in the COVID year where they won like 100 games that year. But that's super exciting because I was asked Mike like 2 months ago. I was like, that's it. I'm not watching the games anymore. I'm done. Like, I was just over it, and I was angry at some of the decisions from the from management and whatnot. And so it seems to be maybe that Steinbrenner Field is a good luck charm. Maybe it's like crowd morale because, obviously when there's a better environment, you can feel it all around. And so that's really cool. 22 out of 30 games. And unfortunately, today was not one of those. Or was that yesterday? I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, they won yesterday pretty significantly. I mean, to sweep the Mets and then take 2 out of 3 from Detroit. If going into this games, they're probably looking at it like, okay, if we can get 3 or 2 wins out of the 6, we're good, we're okay. And they get 5 out of 6. So
yeah.
Here's what I think is a dirty little secret about this too. And I mean that. Because of the weather in Tampa, how it rains a lot and everything else, they front loaded so many home games to Tampa. And they went on the road against the Mets, and you're thinking, they're gonna slip, they're gonna fall. They're not used to being on the road, a different culture. I mean, trust me, the whole checking in, flying in. I know they do first class, but still, it becomes a problem. Yeah. And they must have had a talk about getting off to a fast start on the road because they played like a team possessed. I mean, they just played wonderfully.
Yeah, they're like beasting right now. I'm loving it, and it's like that New York crowd. There was an inning there when they were playing the Mets. I was like, that's it. The New York crowd just got in their head. They were messing up left and right. There was an inning where I was like, that's it. Game's over. I might as well stop watching. Because if they start doing really bad, I get really angry and I start yelling at the TV. And
that's called being a fan. It's called being a fan. It's a good thing.
It's not ladylike.
Well, you know what? I'm not a lady then. I was yelling at the screen when Indiana lost today. The Fever lost against Las Vegas. So trust me, I get it.
Yeah, my son, he knows it. I'll yell at are you kidding me? And he'll be like, that's just mom. She's mad at the TV again. So I usually will stop watching the game when it gets to that point so that I'm not like cursing out the TV in front of the family and stuff, but they got it back so quick. I was like, wow, that to me, like to be able to get it back in that New York crowd, that was fantastic. Because that New York crowd, they're not nothing to mess with. So no,
and let me tell you something. I do like them at Steinbrenner Field too, by the way. I like the smaller park.
I do too.
They're doing it right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, and go back to that play. I think it was yesterday with Taylor Walls. He hits a bloop single, and the runners he was able to somehow manufacture. He got all the way to third base by just like heads up, like just they steal bases, and that's what we'll probably talk about in a minute. They steal bases, they move runners over. The time of the squeeze play, he was at third base. They did the squeeze bunt, perfectly executed. He scores, runner safe at first base. So they know how to make one run turn into four that quickly. So they're on it right now. But
yeah. How about was that one play though? I guess there's a spot on Mets Field that you can. It's probably a lot of money. But you can get this spot, and it's like right out in the right field. And what's his name? Not Brandon. Josh Lau. He catches the pop fly and turns around, and one of the Mets fans is flipping him off with both hands, and I'm just like,
give him the New York salute. No, you're number one.
And some of these fans, like I was watching a Tigers Pirates highlight, and you see the relief pitcher that's about to go in the game is getting into a screaming match where he's
he threw a punch,
leaping up into the crowd, and then they pan out to the guy, and he's wearing a Pirates jersey. I'm like, but he's your own player. Like, what's going on? He had a Tigers hat with a Pirates jersey. I don't know what kind of weirdness that was.
I wanted to ask, and I think it's so awesome that Eileen, you are our first guest. There's a question now that you are our first guest that I want to ask you a serious question.
Okay.
When Mike came to you about this idea, about this podcast, and now it's a podcast and a live show and so many other things.
Yeah.
Of course, you're going to be supportive, but what was your thought process behind it? And did you believe in your wildest dreams that it would be as successful as it's been so quickly?
I don't think I did. I mean, I know that Mike likes to follow a lot of other podcasters and watches a lot of other podcasters too. So he probably got a lot of inspiration and good ideas, and he watched, like a bunch of how-to videos and everything. But at the same time, I always used to tell him, like, you missed your calling. You should have been an MLB announcer or, something like that, where you analyze stats and all that kind of stuff. Because he's amazing. When it comes, like, he'll sit here and tell me, I can't remember anything. I'm like, yeah, all of the stats. So don't even. I know you can remember things. So he's really good at that. And that's just, I think between you two together, just bouncing ideas off each other all the time, I think it's an awesome, great idea. When he was telling me about, having 3,000 subscribers, the first thing that came out of my mouth was, oh my gosh, you should do it Royal Rumble style, because he was telling me.
I think that was a great idea, by the way. That was so awesome.
It just
Where did that idea come from? When it just popped in your head? I mean, that's a great idea.
Yeah, just plopped right out of my mouth.
And listen, Mike, I got to tell you, seriously. I mean, like, I am not the wrestling guy.
Yeah.
And how many people are watching us, whatever, right now? Maybe they know it as well. But if Coco Beware comes out, I'm leaving.
Coco Beware is the least. He is the Joe Mauer of the WWE Hall of Fame. Nothing against Joe Mauer, just didn't quite play long.
But he's Coco Beware. Let's be honest.
Yeah. And the fun thing with Coco Beware was like that in WWE terms, the longest reigning tag team champions of all time, not in the Hall of Fame. Hit leader in baseball, Pete Rose, not in the Hall of Fame. There's so many people not in the Hall of Fame, and then you got Coco Beware snuck in. I don't think he ever held a title. Somehow got in there, and it's still. I love WWE. I love the Hall of Fame. There's no actual Hall of Fame building. It's just something that they do, and it's an event that they do. There's they're very excited about it. They have their ring, but there's no actual like facility. Hopefully someday, but But I think talk to us a little bit about, and we have just about 6 minutes till our next guest. They're already in the lobby. They're excited. But talk to us a little bit about Jose Caballero. We'd like to see his song around the house. But this is the guy that doesn't even play every day. And talk to us about what stat that he leads.
Yeah, so right now he leads the MLB in stolen bases. He has 28 stolen bases. And like Mike said, he's not even in the lineup every day. And he leads the MLB in this category. And he's an all-star. in his own right. And I know he's not a power hitter. I know he's not, he's not a Pete Alonso or, those kind of guys that just get up and just rake them. But if he's on the field, it's phenomenal. He moves bases. He makes infield plays. I mean, he's just all heart and hustle all the time. He's so fast. When he's at base or at bat, it's a huge percentage of the fact that he's probably going to get on base. And and I think that he's just a super down to earth guy too. He's not all like big, showy and flashy. And so it's funny because Mike likes Disney a lot, and so I've gone to Disney with him probably a bajillion times since we started our journey together. And there's this ride in Mexico at Epcot, and so it's like a Mexican boat ride. And you remember the old school movie with the three caballeros? It was Donald Duck and Jose Caballero and another one. And so towards the end of the ride, they're all singing a song, and it's Tres Caballeros, Tres Caballeros. And one day I noticed that Jose Caballero's last name was the same as on the Disney ride. And so I just started singing it every time he got up. And now Mike is like,
love that.
Oh my goodness, there she goes again.
No, that's good. That's joyful.
Good comment. Now, Junior Caminero plays third, so I try to get him in the theme song, but she won't have anything of it. It's not a Caballero. So
okay, but I will say that right now, Junior Caminero does have 17 home runs under his belt for this season. So that's really cool. I mean, that he's hit 17 home runs.
That's a nice number.
That is a nice number. However, he was involved in a trade that got my favorite player sent to Seattle. And so I'm still not a super fan of him yet. I'm just a little butthurt. I
mean, at least he didn't come from elsewhere. He is a Tampa Bay Rays system guy. He just because he has no tie into that because they traded him because they traded Rosarina. He got bumped up to the main roster. So of course.
And I remember they were like, "Oh, you shouldn't be sad because Caminero's coming up," and I was like, "I don't care about this guy."
Yeah, Seattle is playing great baseball. They've kind of come back down to earth a little bit lately. Now they've actually fallen out of wild card contention. They still got a couple good hitters. Randy's not as hot as he was to start the season, but I really felt like we were going to see a 40 home run, 120 RBI season from him. We haven't yet, but he's still a young guy. So
he's still a young guy. Yeah, and I miss
him.
But I'm really excited. We're going to go to a Rays game this Monday. So we're going to go be in Steinbrenner Field. And so just to see a new park is really exciting to me. Yeah. So we may go live from the park. Who knows? But I just like to see new parks, especially the smaller, quainter parks really, really do it for me. I just love the atmosphere. I love that it's not all big and flashy and showy. I just think it's so much cooler. And so I'm excited to see it. And I think also, I don't know if you guys heard, I know Mike has heard, but I don't know if you heard, Darren, the Rays are possibly up for sale.
I heard that.
Yeah. So my hope is that because it's a Jacksonville developer, which Jacksonville is only 2 hours in a different direction from us. But hopefully I'm hoping he either keeps the team in Tampa or puts them in Orlando, because Orlando is making a big pitch to get a new team out there and, drawing up these new stadium plans and everything. Or he could put them in Jacksonville. I'd be happy about that too. As long as they stay in Florida, I will be happy. Some people are saying they're going to go out to Salt Lake City. Some people are saying Montreal. I'm so sick of that rumor. I want to choke the person who tells me that rumor. Like, they're not going. Yes. Watch them go now that I said that, though. But
right. And just a heads up, in 61 seconds from now, our guest from our 61st episode of Around the Ballpark will be joining us. So that's just
that guest. Oh, yeah.
You totally remember who that is.
Yeah, sure. I can't remember my kids' names. They wear name tags.
There's any truth to it.
Don't sleep on your stomach because you're going to just pinch yourself.
Right.
You know, it's funny.
I saw a comedian once
I
say
have
once
this.
they have 4 kids, they start naming their 5th one after sandwiches. Like, okay, Ruben, come here.
No, but I have this tablet at work and it has a picture of every kid with their name on it. And I have to sometimes look at my tablet and be like, oh yeah, what's your name?
Oh, absolutely. I come up with like extra words until I'm thinking, what's this person's name again? Oh.
Sometimes I give them nicknames to help me remember their name.
So I figured let's go ahead. It is 6:10, so why not? Let's let them
ready.
into the room, but we got to do the countdown.
Hey!
It's Coco Beware.
Hey!
Heather and Mark together.
What's up, guys?
For the price of
What's going
one.
on?
We haven't seen you guys in
I haven't
almost
seen you in
16
forever.
hours. How are you guys doing?
Right?
Long time listener, first time caller.
Mr. Polar Bear.
Yes. You guys totally knew you were from episode 61, right? Obviously.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was my next
Work
guest.
with Mike, or is it just a happy accident?
No, I knew that. But I have the list
Your
of
memory and your stats.
He's that
I have this thing set up so I know who's from where and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
So, yes.
don't give away the secrets.
Right. Yeah. You don't want to see behind the scenes.
It's
Right.
open mind. Yep. No one
I
knows
know-
how the sausage is made.
I know when we had you guys on before, it was right around national championship time and it was a split household. We were just a split household with the Mets and the Rays this past weekend. They played each other. But tonight, we're not going to talk about anything like that. We were chatting a little bit about it. So I thought it'd be a lot of fun to use this time with July 4th coming up to talk about some July 4th traditions, some stories, some cool events that you've been to. So I want to give you the floor. You mentioned to me yesterday about an event that at one time had 500,000 people attend and maybe even more by now. So go ahead and talk to us a little bit about Red, White, and Boom in Ohio and all good things related to that.
Sure. Well, congratulations, first of all, Darren and Mike and the whole Around the Ballpark gang on 3,000 subs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you.
Follow us, man. Red, White, and Boom, Columbus, Ohio. That's the large fireworks show that was Heather and my first date back
Aww.
in 2012.
11.
11.
There you go.
11. We argue about that, but it was 11.
Right on. And,
Okay.
So it's a major event. People will show up the night before and camp out to claim their spot. At least they did back then. I don't know if that's still allowed or whatever, but yeah. And then you make a whole day of it.
It's right along the river.
It's right on the river.
They've
There's
got,
food
yeah.
trucks. There's
The local radio station has a booth where they set up and play throughout the night and play. They always have a playlist that goes along with the fireworks. And it's just an amazing fireworks thing. And no matter where you're sitting, you can just feel it. It's that close to you. And it's just, it's really beautiful. And it's a lot of people and a big crowd, and a lot of people aren't into that. And it's right downtown Columbus. So it's pretty close quarters.
Mike, you would absolutely love it.
I would. I like when I can just sit and enjoy something. Like a lot of times, like I feel like, oh, I got to put it together so I can do it and stuff.
Yeah.
And we did something 2 years in a row at our house here, and just because we almost blew up some of the people we invited to the thing, it's not that big of a deal.
Ashes and embers were falling on me.
Yeah.
That's going to catch you on fire.
But did you die?
We did lose one person. His name, we survived. But the funny thing was about the whole thing, and Darren, you get a kick out of this. So we just moved into the new house at the time. I think it was 2 years ago, and quiet neighborhood. We loved the neighborhood. It was the selling point of why we got this house. And so one of my old guests, friends of mine, Rob, at the time, we went and got all these fireworks and stuff, and we're going to do this big display. So we pull in next to the house. And we see this neighbor. I see this neighbor for the first time, and they're like, "Oh, hey, how you doing? My name is so and so. Nice to meet you. What's your name? You're gonna love this neighborhood. It's very peaceful. It's very quiet and tranquil." As I'm talking to him, he doesn't know I'm about to open the trunk loaded with hundreds of dollars worth of the biggest fireworks we sold.
$1,500.
I'm about to blow up everything. I haven't since, unfortunately. I think he's still there. But yeah, it was. If he would have said hi 2 seconds later, you would have seen everything. It was just bad timing. But what going around, to the panel here? We'll start with you, of course, Heather and Mark, and kind of go around. Just name one of your most. I know you mentioned that event, but any kind of fun July 4th traditions, whether it be that event or maybe since you've moved or anything like that, that you really like to make sure that you make it a point to do on July 4th?
If we are in Ohio, I always enjoy our family. So in Asheville, Ohio, which is just a little bit south of Columbus, is where my family and where I grew up. And my uncle lives right beside this park where they always have a carnival, the Asheville 4th of July carnival. And they always have the parade. And since I was a little kid, I remember we would catch candy, go out running in the street for the candy. Like that's just, what let our kids run out in the street, but it was always fun. We would come back with, loads of candy, and then the carnival was there. So, and then in the end of the night, my uncle would always, is always so gracious, and he invites everyone from the family in the neighborhood to come and watch the fireworks that they let off at the high school right by his house also. So that's just a big family event that I always like to do. But if we're down here, buddy, where we're lighting the fireworks up out here, we got some fountains one year and the loud ones too. I really do love the fountains because they last the longest.
They do. They do last some time, and you don't have to worry about them like shooting sideways because there's some right like they fall down and what's gonna happen. But Eileen, anything that I know obviously let's predate us. Let's predate 9-10 years ago and beyond, even more than that. But as a child, as a youth, as a young teenager, do you have any kind of any share you want to share?
My favorite fireworks show is always going to be the one in Cocoa Beach. When you could go to any spot on the beach, and Cocoa Beach is full of public access to the beach. It's not like Sarasota where like you're rich and you have these big houses and there's like almost nowhere to go to the beach except for like 4 or 5 different public beaches. There's like
2 miles
every
away.
street is public access to the beach. So you could go almost anywhere on the beach and have a great spot. You don't have to pay entrance fee. You just set up your beach blanket, you bring a cooler with some soda and some snacks, whatever, and you enjoy this beautiful display thrown on by Ron John's, which I know maybe Darren might not know who Ron John's is. You do? Yeah. Well, because I know they have a spot up in New Jersey, don't they?
Yeah, and I used to live on Rockaway Beach, and they were big over there.
Oh, really?
Very cool.
So the display is put on by them. It's sponsored by them. So it's huge. I mean, they have ridiculous amounts of money, and they probably write it off. So, it's just a wonderful, beautiful thing. The only problem is one, Cocoa Beach is now 45 minutes away from where we live. And 2, so, driving there and then getting back, you're probably getting back at like midnight. If you have kids and if it's, 4th of July is on a Wednesday instead of a Friday, then, it can be troublesome. So the one spot that we found here locally that is really, really cool is the one down in Sebastian. I think it's called Riverview Park. We went there last year with Mark and Heather and me and Mike, and the Flores family came out because Aiden and Isaac Flores are like best friends, and it's Isaac's birthday on the 4th of July. So we just made a huge day of it, and it was really cool. So for me, always going to the beach or the pool during the day and seeing a firework display at night, I'm a happy girl.
Yeah.
Super easy. So yeah, no, and I think we found our spot. It's a little bit more homey. It's just something about it is much more.
It's a little more classy too, because like the show in Palm Bay it's on this like fairground area, which is fine. But the thing is, it's like I remember we're sitting there on our blanket, and the family next to us just openly started smoking blunt right there in front of us. They had kids running around and everything, and I was like floored Because, you know, I remember back in the day when people were like, oh, let's go behind the food truck and do this. At least try to hide it. Nope. They were just right out in the open.
Right there.
Like, wow, this is crazy. And you could smell it all throughout the whole place. Like everybody was lighting up. I was like, this is not for me.
Darren, you know, same question, but then also too, do you have that, like, I'm not talking about the big Mamba Jamba firework that obviously, you know, is there one that's like in the $20 pack from Walmart that you're a big fan of? Is it the smoke grenade? Is it the stinky thing, whatever that was? Or do you have a favorite firework?
Well, I will give you first. I'll give you the best overall, real quick. I'm old enough because I'm as old as dirt, right? But the 200-year celebration of our country, and the Freedom Flotilla that came through New York Harbor, and I remember going on my roof in Brooklyn and watching it from Brooklyn. It was amazing. But in terms of the fireworks, my favorite, I always was fearful of and liked the Roman candle. Right? It's kind of, here's what it is. Don't look at it like this. Don't be waving around like this. You're not the Statue of Liberty. And there's always like one dud, right?
Yes.
Right? And then you think it's over because people can't count to 10, and then there's the whole thing.
That's fine. Joe, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. You always make a point to try to be on, so we appreciate that.
Thank you, Joe.
Hi,
We're
Joe.
talking, and go ahead and share anything you'd like to, Joe, in the comments. We're talking about all things 4th of July and traditions and things like that, and lighting something that's going to go sideways, lighting something that falls down. You get closer because you're not sure if it's going to explode or not, that sort of thing.
Do you remember that one year when Aiden strapped a Lego man to a bottle rocket?
Yes.
Yep,
He was
that's
very
my
excited
boy.
for that. Yes.
Did you guys ever play the game where you would break the stick off a bottle rocket and light it and throw it up in the air and see which way it goes?
Oh yeah.
No, that's dangerous.
No, definitely not.
That sounds like episode 92 of the Around the Ballpark podcast idea.
Yeah, no.
Last
we
year,
used to do that with whistling Jupiters. We used to do that with as well.
Oh yeah.
the ones that are the craziest to me, so our buddy Ike comes down at Christmas time, most every year. So then New Year's Eve we would let fireworks off. Well, they went, and I didn't go the one time to pick out stuff, and they come back with all the great stuff. But then there's also, the ones that are the absolute loudest that they could possibly be, and they're like kaboom, and they've set off the fire alarms, and that's this quiet neighborhood that we just let those off once, and I had to hide the rest. Like, no.
Not us.
What's your favorite story?
Oh, I like, like Eileen said, I like going to the beach. I like the Sebastian thing. I would just add, breaking out the grill. You guys know, I just like to. I love to have the.
You are a good grill master, sir.
Oh.
Right?
You were. I had my pre-party burger, my post-party burger yesterday.
And we had the next day burger for you.
Oh.
I have a burger question before our next guest come on, whatever that is. But
Okay.
Everybody ready?
Yeah.
Okay, it's a food question. It's very important. We talk a lot of food on the show.
Yeah.
So you have your regular hamburger. Now I don't know what you have on it. It's up to you, right?
Everything.
Do you put the ketchup, if you like ketchup, or ketchup and mustard? Do you put it on the meat itself, or do you put it on the inside of the bun?
On the inside of the bun, and squash the two pieces together.
There you go. See, that's one. All right, Mark, you have a chance to block.
Yeah, no, same.
Oh, so you're a bun guy. All right.
On top of the toppings, yeah. I always go cheese first.
See, there you go. Even extra, right? So you got the cheese, and then you put it on the bun. How about you, Eileen?
So mine is the cheese has to go on the burger, but the cheese can't go on the burger until the burger's done cooking.
Right.
Very important, because otherwise it's weird and tastes funny. So
Yes.
the cheese goes on the burger while it's still on the grill. Then
Yes.
Then in the primo world, the bun would also be grilled with a little
Yes.
bit of butter. And then you can put your toppings. I like mayonnaise, lettuce. I love pickles, but they got to be the dill kind. I don't like the bread and butter pickles. I like the dill pickles. And maybe if we're making a perfect burger, add some bacon, some onion strings, and some barbecue sauce.
Yum.
Now, and with ketchup on a hot dog, yeah or nay? I've tried it once. It was gross. I love ketchup on a burger, but on a hot dog,
I can't not have a hot dog. I can't have a hot dog without ketchup on it.
My Jackie also. Maybe it's, I don't know. It's a thing. I can't do it. Though I can now put mustard on a hamburger when I couldn't do that for years. Do a little mustard and ketchup. I can do that now, and it's lovely. But I can't put ketchup on a hot dog. I tried it. It just doesn't work for me. It all of a sudden, no matter if it's a Nathan's, if it's a wonderful Hebrew National or whatever, all of a sudden it becomes bologna. If there's ketchup on it, it's no longer a hot dog. It's bologna. And here's the other thing too, because since we have no life, right, or no friends like me, these are the things you think about, right? So like I'm making a hamburger the other day, and I'm putting the ketchup and the mustard on the bun, like we talked about, right? But you won't do that on a hot dog, right? You don't put those accoutrements underneath the hot dog, or do you? Oh, no. You do the roll. Look at you. No. Heather next levels it. Oh, excuse me. She's right.
I gotta have the hot dog like a little burnt. Not too bad.
I like that.
Not too bad, but just kind of crispy. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. And mustard on a brat. Only mustard on a brat for me. True.
Yes.
Now, my three tops, like if I had my way, it would be red onion, sauerkraut, and the Dijon mustard, like the spicy mustard. I used to like onions on there. Like it's got to be red onions to put it on there. But of course, nobody likes the smell of all that stuff. So I try like if I go.
Then he doesn't get to come back to the house. No, I'm just kidding.
I try to eat it before I come back to my seat. You know.
So if he goes to the game alone with the guys, he'll get all of that stuff, the sauerkraut, all of that kind of stuff. But if he goes to the game with me, he's very nice.
Listen, I will go Chicago. I will go Chicago hot dog now, right? With celery, salt, and some of the other things. That's a whole different animal. Let me tell you something. If I'm sticking people out, I don't care. It's my right. Marion's right, by the way. No ketchup, just mustard.
Yeah, that's good, Marion. Heinz ketchup on a burger. Yep.
I like the Chicago dog too. Peppers and all that on there. Yeah, let's go.
Chicago's the way to go. Those hot dogs are just unbelievable.
And Joe brings up a good point. The day before the 4th of July, they're doing St. Lucie Mets are doing fireworks show on that Thursday night. So that they do a tremendous display there at Tradition Park.
We're doing the fireworks here July 3rd as well. You know where I live.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
Oh, really? Okay. And what is that other? Because we know hot dogs, hamburgers, but like, what's that third option for? Like, is there something that you always include as that extra item besides just those two? Is it chicken? Is it kebabs? I feel like I need a good kebab in my life.
I love a good kebab.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, that's good.
Chicken, I guess. We usually do some chicken breast. Yeah.
I'm a steak person. I do love steak, but that's not just normally what I get on 4th of July.
Well, okay, listen, you, Heather and Mark, you brought up another great. We've had this question before. I'm going to ask it again. Mm-hmm. What is the difference between a cookout and barbecue? I think steak has to be part of that, or pork. That's the difference.
I think the answer is where you live in the country.
True that too.
That's what I think. Yeah.
That's good.
If you live in the South, I think it's a cookout, right? And if you live up north, it's a barbecue.
Right.
Yeah.
But
or the other way around.
Yeah, I don't think if you just have a hot dog and hamburgers, even down south, I think that's just grilling. I think that's just barbecue. That's not barbecue. That's just grilling.
Cooking out.
It's not barbecue.
I think
it needs to be something lathered on there for it to be barbecue.
Right.
And then it should also be the duration of the event. Like if you're doing ribs and steak and hot dogs and like our friend Ernie, that's a cookout. He'll be out there for hours. He loves it too. But so to me, it's like it's the amount of time, but I also think it's cultural too. There are some depending on what part of the country you're in, like Mark was saying, is depending on whether they want to call it a cookout or a barbecue. I've always called it a barbecue or grilling, but that's just
But listen, let us not forget what Joe wrote, right? Because I smell that right now. And that is the Italian sausage on the grill with the peppers and the onions. Oh, love that.
Ooh,
You can get it for
Yeah.
$19.99 at Yankee Stadium right today if you want it.
That bent little metal pan that you just burn your hand, but it's so good.
My dad, my foster dad, he always makes the best bratwurst. Always.
Yeah.
I don't like bratwurst unless he made it.
Yes.
Maybe I'm just being
I know I'm officially excited now because the thing is that's the other thing. You gotta make July 4th into a full weekend, because when you go to the July 4th event, you have the food trucks and all that stuff, but you gotta also have a separate day. That's why July 4th really turned into like a 3 or 4 day thing, because you gotta have the home barbecue. You gotta go out to watch fireworks. You gotta watch Jaws.
Oh, okay.
You gotta do those kinds of things. It's important. Yeah.
And personally, I watch Yankee Doodle Dandy. I got to watch James Cagney, Yankee Doodle Dandy. It was a thing my father absolutely loved, so I kind of inherited it from him, and it's great. And then I go out about 1 o'clock in the morning and just chill, relax.
I think if you're lucky enough to live somewhere by a lake and maybe know somebody with a boat or something, I think that's an ideal 4th of July as well.
Yeah,
that'd be cool too. I've always wanted a boat. I've even thought about that Freedom Boat Club. It's not too far from us. I've thought about how cool would it be to rent a pontoon boat and just go from island to island to island.
Those are fun. Those are fun.
So where we live, along our river system, it's called the Thousand Islands. You just island hop all day long.
I want to do it.
Yeah.
21 boats. That's what we'll use, I think, and we'll do that.
I need a boating license, though.
That'll be a future episode.
A future episode.
Coming to you from the pontoon boat. It's around the ballpark.
Redneck Yacht Club. That's a wonderful song, by the way.
Yes.
That's a great idea. I love that.
It's so funny. My city boy husband and
getting his video.
Sometimes has no option. We're rednecking it up down here.
We have our next guest is in the queue. He's just working on the video part, so I see him there, but I'm just kind of waiting a second until that. So he's working on that. Oh, there we go.
Look at Mike multitask. I love that. He's
right.
directing.
I feel like right now the sign is directly behind me, so I just see spots at this point.
Yes, it's like when I read the commercial earlier.
So guys, let me know if I start looking off to the wrong way. But Heather, Mark, Eileen, feel free to stay on for a little longer if you'd like. We have our next guest in the chat is about to pop in. He is a first-time guest to the show, so super excited to talk to him. So without further ado, and no, it's not this guy. I wish it was
that guy.
Not my friend.
So he makes a couple appearances per episode. Let's just say that.
He just makes
guys, here we go. All right, we have with us from YouTube this person. We got to meet him, and we're going to talk about it. We got to meet him at Fair Reach Screen Park last fall. But at Presidential Tourist from YouTube with over 60,000 subscribers. Congratulations to you for that. That is a huge accomplishment. So thank you so much for joining us tonight, and we're just going to have fun talking to you. So how are you doing, first and foremost? Thank you so much for joining the show.
Doing great. Hope you all are doing pretty good.
Oh yeah.
Yes, we are.
We're doing great. We're baking in that. Of course, you're in Florida too. We're baking in this Florida heat. Darren's the only smart one living in a nice state. It's got seasons and all that good stuff. We're all baking here. But
I love the
if
heat.
you wouldn't mind, just maybe for those that may not know, obviously I know who you are and all that stuff, but if you wouldn't mind sharing with the listeners and the watchers and our panel here, just a little bit about yourself and where we can find you on social media. I follow all that you do and see all the cool places you go to, but if you wouldn't mind just kind of sharing that with everybody.
Well, most of my stuff's on YouTube. I do have an Instagram site, but I don't put too much on there. But you can find me all at the Presidential Tourist on YouTube. That's where I have all most of my stuff. And I have over 5,300 videos now, and just past 60,000 subs. I'm pretty confident I'm going to be at 100,000 by the end of the year, or very early next. It's been a long road to get that. I've really been picking up this past year, but it took a long time. But I'm very proud of it. But yeah, I have basically a variety channel. It's not just haunt stuff. That's where we met, but it's traveling, it's reviews, it's unboxing, it's some abandoned stuff, film locations. I just do basically everything in a lot of ways. My channel is always evolving. I'm always trying and filming new stuff. So it's basically just a variety channel. It's not like one subject, even though some dominate more than others. You know, the theme park stuff, obviously, but it's just a whole bunch of things. But I've been living in Florida for over 20 years now. I'm originally from a cold state, so I don't miss the cold at all. So it gets a little toasty here sometimes, but I still prefer that than piles of snow outside the door where I can't get out of the house or anything like that, like I used to deal with.
Amen. I hate the snow.
Yeah.
I really do.
You know, and something you said, I want to tag on that for a minute, is because Eileen and I, my wife, talk about this a lot, is there's so many content creators here in Central Florida area that they go to Disney, to go to Universal and SeaWorld, and there's nothing wrong with doing that. But I did get to meet you at Fair Beach Green Park, but I knew off the bat you did all other things as well. But what I loved about, and I'm so glad we finally were able to collab on this tonight, and I'm sure we will again in the future, is that you did those exact things. And that's something we are talking about. Like, okay, everyone knows by now what it's like to go on Space Mountain and Splash Mountain and all that good stuff. RIP Splash Mountain. But you go to places that everyone may not know of. And I really think that can be attributed to your growth, is that people want to see other places and other things. Like you mentioned, like sometimes you might just go to a brand new Chili's that's open in your area, or maybe a place you've never heard of, and those kind of things. That's what people want to see right now. And so it's just wanted to share that. I thought that was really cool. That
the theme park vlogging world is gigantic, and it's extremely oversaturated because everyone thinks it's easy. Well, I mean, it is, but there's so many people doing it that to stand out is really hard.
Yeah.
And to really get there, you just really have to go there like every day. And even then, you might not be able to stand out because there's so many others doing it. And most of the bigger ones are one that's been doing it for many, many years, like the Tim Packer. Like I know Tim a little bit, and he started at a really good time doing that stuff. No one else was doing it. But if he would have started now, it would have been virtually impossible to get his size because there's so many people vlogging now at theme parks, especially Disney. And then with Epic Universe opening, it's just, I mean, I go there and I see tons of people vlogging all the time. And to be successful at being a theme park vlogger now, just starting out, it's really hard. So that's why it's good to diversify. It's like being a businessman. It's good to diversify your holdings. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. That's why just a theme park vlogger. I mean, if you don't care about being big or getting a large following, that's fine. But if you want to one day get higher and more followers, you're really going to have to try other stuff too.
Yes, and that's why I appreciate that. And so I thought it'd be fun to, with the time that we have you here in the next 12 minutes, kind of go around the panel here. So if you may not know, Darren is my co-host of the show, and then my wife Eileen will join us periodically as well. And she's also our first guest tonight, because why not?
And I got to meet you at is that what it's called?
Fear Reach Screen Park. Yeah.
Fear Reach Screen Park. Okay.
Which I heard they're thinking about selling that.
Oh no! I had so much fun there.
That's what I heard.
I did.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, they are doing. They're hiring right now for some scare actors. So I think this year is a go. Hopefully in the future it's good there too. But I think this year should be okay. But yeah.
Yeah, because I saw another YouTuber put up a video saying he heard that they're selling it, and somehow he saw the listing for it through a real estate website. I haven't checked more into it, so I can't say 100% is happening. But I wouldn't be surprised because I know they can sell that land for a boatload of money because there's selling houses on it.
Yeah, for sure. So I thought we were going to go around the panel here, and just if you had any questions for Presidential Tourist in terms of and just in terms of what he does in terms of the vlogging and what goes into that, because you may see a 19-minute video or a 10-minute video, but sometimes that could turn into 3-4 hours That's just of the editing alone, and then there's the going to the place and getting the right lighting and the right equipment and all that kind of stuff. So what seems to be like a quick in and out thing is really, really not.
It never is.
So yeah. So just Darren, if you wouldn't mind, start. If you just have
Sure.
a question for.
I have a couple of quick questions. I know we don't have a lot of time, but you've been doing this for a while very successfully. First question, I have really two, but this is about process and what you would like to share with people. How do you maintain your authenticity when you are the brand, but at the same time allow yourself to separate the presidential tourist and who you are as a person? It's not easy.
Well, that's an interesting question because I know a lot of YouTubers behind the scenes, and a lot of them are actors. That's not their authentic self. They put on a performance. They have their sort of stick, so to be. I mean, you see some YouTubers acting jolly and happy, and all that stuff, and they say these sayings. But when I see them when the camera's not filming, they're they're low energy. They're more serious. I mean, it's a lot of it's an act. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Right. I mean, it's really no different than what Tom Cruise or Brad Pitt does. Sure. You're putting on a show for entertainment, and I'm fine with that. I mean, every YouTuber can go their route. But I try to be as authentic as possible from how I am when we're just talking, when we're not filming them in front of the camera, right. Because I think it's important to the audience to be your true self, at least for me. Mm-hmm. And that kind of hurts someone like me because I'm more serious and lower energy, but because people like the goofy stuff, but I just think it's important to be more me
100%.
than someone else.
I think because that's your true self. My second question is, did you see the documentary Class Action Park? And if you did, what did you think about it, about Action Park in New Jersey and all the shenanigans that the people went through behind the scenes there? That would never be allowed today, I would not think.
No, I haven't seen it. I've heard about it, but I haven't seen it.
If you get a chance, I'd love for you to watch it, and I'd love to see your critique of it. Because, I mean, they had 14-year-olds who were just, manning the rides. They got to work.
Wow.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, that makes me, because I've been to some of those local carnivals, and I filmed some of those, getting on some of those rides, and I'm always very nervous getting on those things because the workers do not seem very enthused, and it doesn't look safe at all. So I haven't done too many of those carnival rides because it's a disaster waiting to happen.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, especially with those carnival rides or like the theme parks that aren't like the big brands like the Disney or the Universal or anything make me super nervous too. Like there was a spot in downtown Orlando that has like a couple different rides and everything. And I think it was like 2 or maybe 3 years ago, a boy fell out and kerplunk. And
I heard about that.
Yeah. I unfortunately was dumb enough to watch the video, and I didn't think that the people would record what he hit the ground from I don't know how high up it was in the air. I never should have watched it though, and now I'm terrified to even go on Manta, which was one of my favorite roller coasters at SeaWorld, and I can't do it anymore because I'm like, nope, not for me. I can do Penguin, the Penguin encounter. What is it called again?
Penguin Track.
Penguin Track. I can do that one. I can do Icebreaker. I can do the other one. Comes out of the water, Kraken. The Kraken. I can do all those because I'm snug and safe in there. I could do the surfboard one, but I cannot do Manta anymore. It's really sad. But because you're sitting there looking at the ground as you're rising up, and I'm just like, nope, can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never been a big fan of really fast rides. I'll do some of them. I don't like dips, so I don't go on roller coasters very often. You know, the older I get, the more blood pressure issues. And I thought, it's not worth dying.
Yeah.
See, one time I wanted to go on all the rides, film all of them. And the real fast ones, no. Not anymore.
Yeah.
There's a time where we would want to do it 3 or 4 times in a row. It's like, now it's like, okay, I'll pick one for the day, We had a blast. We went Thursday. We had a blast watching the Sesame Street Parade. It's just
fun.
Yeah.
Yes. But any question on your end, Heather and Mark, for him in terms of like?
I have 2 questions too. Also, from a gear perspective, like, what does it look like? What kind of gear you're taking into a park with you? Is it like a backpack full? Is it less than that, more than that?
Well, yeah, I have a bag. Well, it's not a backpack; it's more like a laptop bag. But I carry my camera, extra batteries, things like that. I don't carry a ton of stuff for me to use for filming. I like to make sure it's safe and secure. I mainly just use my main vlogging camera. Sometimes I'll use my cell phone on certain things. If I want to film like a short and stuff, it's just easier for me to edit if I use the phone. But it all depends, of course, on the situation. When you go to someplace like Disney, it's easy to film because everyone's doing it. You can have your vlogging camera out. But when I go to other places where I'm not, you don't film as much, like a restaurant, I'm a little bit more inconspicuous because I don't want to make people nervous. I usually have my phone, and I won't even bring my bag, for instance.
Okay.
I bring even less.
Yeah. And then also, I was wondering, have you ever done like Gatorland and or the Kennedy Space Center?
Yeah, I have several videos from Gatorland. I actually am hoping to go back this month sometime. I filmed some of the animals and things. A couple years ago, I went to their Halloween thing they had, and they had a little bit of a haunt there, and that was really cool. The Kennedy Space Center, no, I haven't been there yet, but I do intend to go because I know some people have, and they spoke really highly about it. And there's like a super amount of things even nearby to film too, not just the Space Center itself.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
I got a question for you. You said you do a lot of unboxing. What type of stuff do you do?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, I did some appliances. I've done some stuff I used to film with. Things like that. If I buy something off Amazon that's new electronics, I'll unbox that. Because amazingly, people are just interested to see what it looks like coming from out of the box. I usually show that. I'll show like the directions, and sometimes I'll even put a review at the end what I think of the product after I used it. People just like that stuff.
Yeah, that's really helpful. I like when podcasters or bloggers will do that because then it's like I get to see what it's like before I spend the couple $100 to do it. And I watched a video one time about it was like a tutorial on how to use our GoPro. And so that was nice too. So like those unboxing videos and like the tutorials and the how-tos, I really like those because it really helps me not feel like an idiot and watch someone else do it.
Yeah, a lot of them do really well with regard to views too. Like I did some test video with some old camera I used years ago, and it did like really well with views. People like to see how it works and the quality of it when they buy it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So my last question for you, we still got about 3 minutes before our next guest jumps on. So my one question I had is, because I know it's got to be interesting when you're trying to plan stuff out, especially when there's like a lot of different events going on, because sometimes you want to be one of the first ones to go, but then like you mentioned, that's overcrowded. Like there's so many people doing the same thing. So you kind of, but what is something on your radar that you're most excited, like maybe in the next couple weeks, couple months that maybe you haven't done yet before that you're kind of looking into doing for the first time?
Well, there's a couple of places in Florida I have to spend like 2 or 3 days there that I want to go some historical locations. I can't just drive to and then come back home.
Right.
I hope to eventually get to Epic Universe. I'm in no rush to get there. I know a lot of people want to just rush to film it all, but it's going to be there, and I don't care if 300 people did it before me. It's not just to film it, but it's to enjoy yourself too.
Right. And you're going to wait in line for over an hour for each ride, and it's insufferable heat right now. It's not worth it right now, I don't think.
and I have several haunts planned when haunt season starts. I've already got some media invites, so I'm looking forward to that. But the biggest problem with the haunts, though, a lot of them with the media stuff, a lot of it's pretty much almost the same day for a lot of them. So you kind of have to pick and choose. And some of them will let you come on a regular day, and some of them are very strict. You have to be that day, and that's it. So I had to decide which ones to go to, and I got some new ones lined up, but I'm pretty excited with that too.
But it is hard when there's so many ones, but I had such a good time. Eileen and I really enjoyed Fear Reach Dream Park. That was the only one we actually got to do last year, but it's phenomenal. I really want to go back this year. Hopefully I'm able to do so again, and hopefully we'll run into you if you do make it the same night again. That was a blast. Something about just not having a billion people there. We were able to have nice conversation, go through the house by ourselves instead of with a million people in a single file line. So really enjoyed that.
Yeah, we didn't have to go in a conga line. I was able to enjoy my arm space. And the darn monster stole my hat.
And they were pretty long houses too, I gotta say. So
I know
that was one of the more
screaming the entire time.
That was one of the more comprehensive ones. Some of the other ones are a lot smaller, but they had a lot, 3 of them and everything. I had only one thing I want to mention about the haunts. I regret that they're not going to have the one in Bartow again this year, because that was in an actual former jail. But if anyone wants to see what that jail looks like when the haunt's not going on, I got an exclusive tour. I was able to definitely put me through the whole thing. I got to go into solitary confinement in the cellar, places that people don't go at all in there, and it was really cool. I even got to go on the wall, like the utility corridors where the pipes go through, like a real Shawshank Redemption type thing. Really creepy, but really cool. They're supposed to level that place, so I'm probably going to be the only one that really got such an extensive tour of that building.
Lucky. That's awesome. So thank you. I'll have to definitely go to the content and pull it up. But thank you guys so much for joining us. I know the next guest is in the room there. So thank you, Heather and Mark. I'm sure we'll see you soon. Hopefully,
one more time because I'm going to make room for new people. Okay.
Okay. We'll see you later, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll
Goodbye, good friends.
Together. So thank you guys so much for that. Bye, guys.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. So, are you ready for the next one?
I am ready.
Okay. Darren, you good still?
Yeah.
Oh.
Can you hear me?
Let me see what's done. Okay. There we go.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yep. It froze for a second. All right. You ready for the next guest? Here we go.
Yes, I am.
Who knows who it's going to be? It is a returning guest. Okay. Here we go.
What's up, guys?
Right. I was thinking about you when you stomped the heck out of my Mets. I was thinking about that, and you loved it.
Apparently, we're bringing guests on that have swept the Mets. So we had a radio guest, my wife, and then so how good?
Yeah, well, that felt great, but everything after it didn't.
They'll be fine. They're gonna make the playoffs. You're just too good. Seriously, I'm not just placating. They're gonna make.
I don't think so. I hope you're right, but I don't think so.
You're a fan, and I seriously, I watch all your content. You sometimes comment on it, but I watch every one. First of all, you had a couple of picture changes of yourself, which were kind of cool, different hats and all.
Yeah.
I want to start there if I can, because you and I have been doing this for quite a while now.
Yeah.
What have you learned over the years that you're willing to give away? What have you learned, and how do you stay? I'm going to ask you the same question I asked our last guest, a guy named Presidential Tourist. I hope you stay with us when we have the other guests on as well. How do you stay your authentic self, but yet try to attract the people we need to survive in this?
How do I say my authentic self? Well, if I'm not my authentic self, then it's not me. So I think I just continue to do what I do, and if you like it, great. If you don't, no. I honestly, I just do me, and I don't really know how to answer that question other than the fact that if I wasn't me, then I think my parents and my family would smack me. So pretty much
So
I
a
mean,
little physical violence. But now, let me ask you this, sort of as a follow-up to that. How have you changed? What have you learned over the 6 years?
I have learned, I think it's not that I want it to be easier in terms of when we struggle. The last 2 years have kind of shown me that I can deal with the Braves struggling more than any of us would like, but it showed me that I can deal with it and just kind of do it in somewhat of a respectful way, but still keeping my authentic self where it's still I'm angry and I'm annoyed, but I'm not disrespectful to the players or try not to be, because baseball is really hard. So I think that learning to how to deal with struggles and how to as a content creator, you still got to do it. You still got to do it every single day. And whether that's got to be a short thing because you can't say anything else, because if you do, it'll be worse, or just trying to stay creative with that way.
Now, I got to ask this question. You mentioned like not losing your mind sometimes when things happen. I found, especially as a Mets fan, like the rage that I have for when the bullpen messes up is a different kind of rage than anything else. Like, and I think it's because in what other, like if you put it into perspective, like any other line of work, right? The starter goes out there for 6 innings, busts his butt for 2 hours and 20 minutes, throws his arm out, maybe gives up 2 hits and 1 earned run, or maybe no earned runs. And then the guy, he's eating his sunflower seeds. He gets a phone call on the phone from, the old school rotary phone. And he come in, and he comes in there, and he's not even in there for a minute and a half, and he's already put 3 runners on base and an earned run already. And so like me as a fan, I'm like, okay, I'm frustrated because it's this guy. Like, what made the manager say this is the guy we want again after he messed up 2 games earlier in the week? But as that starting pitcher, like that frustration has got to be like crazy.
That's been the Braves' issue. Well, our offense can't hit the broadside of a barn, so let's be honest with that. But other than playing the Mets, because apparently we can do whatever. But that's been our issue. Our starting pitching has been amazing, but our bullpen has had some struggles. Raisel Iglesias not being as good as a closer, and all that stuff starting to mount up. And now our bullpen's been pretty decent, but our offense still can't get out of its own way. So it's like, and our starting pitching has been good from the word go. And that's the struggle, and the most frustrating part is that, especially, because pitching, you're not going to be perfect. Your offense needs to cover some games, but we haven't been able to do that this year.
Let me ask you, because you watch every game and you trust about this. I'm hearing from other people that Acuna is still sort of injured.
No. Okay, he is, in that he is not stealing bases at the rate that he was. We're telling him not to do that, but no, he's not human right now.
Gotcha. All right, good. I wanted
to know.
He's not
human in that he is hitting everything that in sight really, really hard.
Yes.
And walking and doing every single thing. He's got over 400 batting average right now.
Love that. And we love having his brother on our team, by the way. He's not as good as his brother, but he's all right. He's fast as the wind. That's for sure.
I don't think there's any.
Go ahead.
I wish he was still in the Texas Rangers so I could like him a little bit more.
I understand that.
I think there's no other franchise that owns like a team like they do. Like it's player after player, year after year, no matter what the standings show. But every team goes through it. I mean, obviously the Braves started at the record that they started with, and still they're nowhere near where they want to be. But Mets losing 7 in a row was rough. You're like, are we going to win again? Or like in the back of my mind, I'm already seeing the New York Post, unprecedented. Mets haven't won a game the rest of the season. But of course that's like overreaction.
And
but
I think this year has taught me in a really dumb way that it's June 22nd right now, and the Braves have lost in so many unspeakable, insane ways that you just go, maybe it's not your year. I mean, there's still a lot of time left, and a lot of things can change, but at this moment, we lost a 7-run lead in the 9th inning to the D-backs with 1 out in the 9th. We lost on a walk-off wild pitch.
Oh,
we lost on a 2-strike, 2-out, 2-run homer to Matt Chapman. There's just so many heartbreaking bullpen messes up, but the offense doesn't cover anything. It's just so maddening to watch. And I think the whole fan base is basically watching right now because of Ronald Acuna Jr. The rest of it, they're just like, oh, okay.
Well, see, and I mean this with all sincerity, a person doesn't have to look any further than last year. The Mets were absolute trash until after the All-Star break. They were trash. And all you got to do is get hot for 2-3 weeks, and then the momentum in the playoffs, anything can happen. And
we just keep having duds. We just keep having duds of games where you're like we lost 10-1 to the Rockies when our starting pitchers Grant Holmes struck out 15. Just don't happen.
Yep.
But they have. That's why baseball makes no sense. And it doesn't maddening, make any sense. And we don't know why we watch it and why we do what we do, but we do.
Because we love it. I played college football, coached college football, but baseball's my love. It just is. Yeah. You mentioned about you wish that Acuna's brother played for Texas so you could love him more. I feel that way. My favorite Brave, other than Hank Aaron, of course, who is a far and above. That's like, it felt like Chipper Jones crushed us.
So bad.
Absolutely crushed us. That he named his son Shea because he just would crush us. But flowers and props to him. He always did it right. And I just love the guy.
Yep.
Who from another team, doesn't have to be the Mets, who crushes your team, do you just say, I got to give that person credit? Who's that person to you?
It's always not the superstars. It's always the randos,
Jeff Francoeurs of the world.
And I really can't think of one right now, but I know it's like a rando. But I will say Bryce Harper doesn't crush us as much as he did when he was with the Nationals.
Right.
Now that he's with the Phillies. But when Julio Teheran was a pitcher on the Braves, you could just mark it down for a couple homers and just mark it down for about 5 homers a series. We might be able to cover it. We might not.
Now, I know, they lost 2 out of 3 with the Marlins. You're feeling a little bit down right now, but I'm going to lift your spirits because they play 4-game series with the Mets coming up again. So hopefully.
I don't know about lifting my spirits, but we'll see what happens.
Just don't put the broom away just yet. But
and
the Mets have, they're going through it right now. Tonight they got the big game in Philly, of course, and stuff. But if the Braves, let me ask you this question. Obviously, you're in your mind, you're not sure if they can actually get over the hump and get that last playoff spot. But let's just say that they play well enough to at least not be a seller at the trade deadline, and they are able to make that one move. Who's that one guy, or what's that one position that you most want at that July 31st trade deadline this year?
Great question.
Yeah.
And now, if Jurickson Profar comes back after his suspension and becomes what we thought he would be, and that's basically like getting a trade piece. But I would say a reliable bullpen piece, and I'm gonna throw out a name here. Probably not going to happen, but a Ryan Helsley type, maybe.
Okay.
Even though he does not like the chop for Atlanta, so I don't think that is, but something to that effect, maybe. But the funny part is, Alex Anthopoulos said we're not going to be sellers, and I agree with that at this point. But like, I don't know that there's going to be so many sellers to be able to get things. I can see a Charlie Morton reunion from the Braves perspective.
Ooh.
Something like that. Yeah, I think for me, like, I wouldn't want that guy. Like, I see a lot of people joking around the Paul Skeens, right? Like, I wouldn't want that. Like, of course, yes, having Paul Skeens on the Mets would be fantastic. On the Braves, fantastic. But I love that some of the smaller market cities are getting these people that, and maybe they're not going to be around forever, but like, there's just something about the Reds have De La Cruz and the Royals have Witt. And so that's not, I wouldn't want that. As a Mets fan, yes, it'd be cool. But then at the end of the day, that means the Pirates are going to take some of our prospects and they're going to be what they are again. So that's got to be frustrating. So yeah, I'm looking at that guy that maybe on that team that may not be that highly, like I think of a Hunter Goodman with Colorado, because we have some struggles right now with Francisco Alvarez, a catcher. You know,
that's
he'd be a guy
that would be nice, but I think the Rockies need to. I think they need to build around a guy like that, but that would be perfect for you guys.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's someone who, you know, he's not going to get in the All-Star game or whatever, like being voted in, but like I think he may be their representative. He's a good little player. Got 5 minutes next to our next guest. So I want to ask, this next question. So with the All-Star game coming up, one of the things Darren and I love to talk about, we're like, oh, those god-awful old uniforms that they've had at the All-Star game and stuff. Did that ever bother you with where they got away from just, you know, the standard team jersey?
Well, yeah, I don't like that at all. Just because there's so many graphic designers that I know that are very good at their jobs, and I feel like they just put something together and stuck it on a piece of fabric, and I think it's very annoying. But
Agreed.
I'm glad they went back to the normal, regular All-Star.
Yeah, because I mean, part of when we fell in love with this sport, right? I mean, it's tradition, and the tradition of the All-Star game. You see your player in their uniform out on that field. That meant something. Yeah. Then when they had the National League, American League uniforms, that was just like you said, terrible. It was terrible.
Yeah, really, really bad. Have you got to or have you got to make it out to a game this season, or do you have any plans
this
for that
season? No, my last one was actually the Throw It Again game in 2023 against the Mets, which was a win. And
of course it was.
Thank you, Pete Alonso, for being an idiot and helping us out there. But that's the last one I went to. But the I guess the good thing about this year, and it's not good, but like you said, rage. I've gotten a lot of rage views because I've been so angry and so frustrated about how this season has gone that I've picked up a lot of subscribers and a lot of this, that, and the other. So I guess I can help be happy about that way, but not in the way that I want to be. But it's been a while.
Yeah, no, it's funny. It's a good point, because a lot of content creators are like, okay, when things are good, like they're happy, their blood pressure is normal, things are good, but people like chaos, they like disaster and stuff, so they'll tune into something, you know, like sometimes we'll have wrestling content here and stuff, and if something's really bad, people will watch because it's bad, but if it's good, it's just like, you know, just like in a baseball game, no one's ever going to pat the umpire on the back and go, great job today. You know, if there's views, if he misses a bunch of calls, that's when, you know, there's heat, frustration, and things like that. And so, but it is weird to see the Braves not like right there. You know, I think everyone and their mother penciled in Braves, Mets, and Phillies in some order to automatically be in the postseason before a day of spring training. So it does feel weird. But seeing Acuna made the play that he did against the Mets, like to see him basically starting to get closer to be back to his full self, that's awesome. It feels like even like Matt Olson, like even though he's got 15 RBIs or 15 home runs and 49 RBIs, he's still like a little below what he should be, but that's our killer numbers. Still more than Soto has, but so.
Yeah, Cassie, I wanted to ask you real quick a non-Braves related question, but I mean your baseball knowledge is what it is. What do you think of the Rafael Devers trade going, to San Francisco?
I think the Red Sox did a really poor job of the return, but I understand why they did it. But the return was it gave me Nolan Arenado to the Cardinals vibes.
Right. That's a great call. That's a great poll.
And I think I completely understand why the Red Sox did it, but they also didn't handle Rafael Devers' situation in the offseason great either. So I understand both sides, and I understand it. But for a player of Rafael Devers' caliber, you have got to get a lot more prospects, or at least one legitimate major league roster piece.
Right.
One, at least. And they didn't do that.
I understand getting rid of him, and that makes a lot of sense, but you could have waited close to the deadline. This is not the best you could have got. You could have waited and got something much stronger. Like you said, a piece that you could put into that starting lineup today.
Today, yeah. And Cassie, if you wouldn't mind hanging out for at least one more guest, if you wouldn't mind. But it is that time. It is 7:10. So that means that our next guest is in the building. So without further ado, let's get that countdown clock going. And who knows? So who this might just be. All right. Well, so full disclosure, you mentioned this at the start of the podcast, but Darren had no idea not only what we were going to be talking about, but who was going to be popping on the screen. So there's no format sheet today. Not that there usually is a format sheet, but we have Mr. Yankee with us. So we are Mets fans allowing both a Yankee guest and a Braves guest at the same time. That is,
we love diversity. We just do.
Well,
just getting beat, right? We also love just getting beat.
What they want to comment on is like the Devers, and it's true in all sports. The players are kind of running things now.
Yep.
I want to be. I don't want to do this. I don't want to play this position. I want to get traded. So it's it went from one extreme to the other.
Yeah, it really is.
That's true. We're talking about with the uniforms. Finally, Major League Baseball, listen. They got tired of people saying, no, we hate these uniforms. Let's get the All-Star game the way it should be.
I totally agree.
Baseball has changed so much over the years. Some for the better, but some not so great. When you're old, you look back and you go, God. We were talking about Hank Aaron and all these players. One disadvantage is that you can get players from other teams except for the All-Star game or the World Series. Because we didn't have no ESPN or anything like that. So fans today get a better chance to see these players.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. One question I wanted to ask, we'll start with you, Mr. Yankee, and then we'll go to Cassidy. So I want to talk about commentating booths. So obviously we've talked about on the show, we're big fans of our, I want to say 3-man booth, but a lot of times in with the Mets, it's a 2-man booth. It's not as 3-man as it used to be. So starting with you in terms of through the years, whether it was radio, whether it was TV, in terms of, and feels like there's a weird, like right now in 2025, like weird rivalry when it comes to Mets and Yankees commentators or whatnot. So kind of starting with you, Mr. Yankee, in terms of, your highs and lows in terms of commentary, in terms of what, you thought was the best of the best, and maybe someone you might not have been much of a fan of through the years, and then the whole dynamic of radio versus audio, because I still feel like there is a niche for audio and not just the game. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
So, okay, well, since I'm old, Mel Allen, Phil Rizzuto, Bill White, Frank Mesa, I don't mind Michael Kay too much. Wasn't a big fan of John Sterling. He's since retired. Susan Walbin, she's pretty good. So, but one thing that's was pretty interesting is that now with the game of the week, you get to hear announcers from different teams. So that kind of puts a little, oh, man, I like this guy. I get a lot of Baltimore games, Nationals. So it's good to hear different announcers from different teams.
So, what's your feeling about Dave Sims? And then Cassidy, really the same question about your announcing booth and what do you like over the years. But what do you think of Dave Sims so far this year, Mr. Yankee?
What was that again? Sorry.
What do you think of Dave Sims so far? You know, doing the Yankee games now with Susan.
He's pretty good. You know, I think anytime you get somebody new, it takes a little while to get used to their style.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so but I think I like him better than some of the other announcers I had. You know, like I said, John Sterling was good. You know, his home run call, but he got to be, you know, retired. He should have retired.
Yep. Well, it's very interesting that we have Mr. Yankee and Cassidy because, as you both know, John Sterling did both of your games for years. You know, and in fact, the World Series in the '90s, he was calling it for the Braves. So, Cassidy, same question to you: who's been your favorite? Not so great, and how's the booth dynamic?
Brandon Gaudin taking over for Chip Carey has been an absolute game changer. Because I think Chip Carey's still great, still has he can call the big moments as good as anyone. But I think the thing that annoyed me most about Chip Carey was that it felt like he got a little too excited when the opponent did something good against us, and I think that was getting a little grind on my nerves a little bit. And I think Brandon has a very, very amazing way of projecting what we're feeling, but giving the other team credit as well when it's going bad and when it's, you know, I'm sure you've seen some of his awful announcer if you follow that Twitter account and he handled some of those things. And I think he's really good with every piece of broadcaster that we have. CJ Nikowski is a little bit more analytical, but he also has a lot of fun, and our sideline reporters have a lot of fun. They eat all the foods and do some different things.
That's important.
And our radio booth has been amazing. Ben Ingram is one of the best voices in radio, and obviously I'm biased, but his calls are just absolutely fantastic. And getting Darren O'Day, the former reliever, getting a different perspective there, and they've done a really nice job doing the booth. And Jeff Rancourt and Tom Glavine, when it's Jeff Rancourt, Tom Glavine, and Brandon Gaudin, it's just like four guys watching a ball game, like you do with your buddies. It's like that on national TV. So I really appreciate that. Plus, you got the lineage of Skip Carey, Pete Van Wieren, all those legends. You're not gonna get any better than that either. Even though I was younger, I still miss those guys too. But I think the Braves have done a fantastic job in their booths.
Oh, I think so too. And you know, it's tough to say that. And again, we talked earlier about, but like that's a rival. But their booth is all class. They handle it very, very well. Now, Mr. Yankee, you hit on something. You and I are old enough to remember the Ballantine Blast, you know, Schaefer, you know, Mel Allen. But I got to tell you, people don't realize how great Phil Rizzuto, Frank Mesa, and Bill White were. They were just unbelievable.
It was amazing listening to them. Bill White, the straight guy, Phil Rizzuto would go off on Thursdays, but it still captivated you. It made like one of your friends talking where you were having a few beers. Hey, you know, so-and-so's birthday. Oh, yeah. And holy cow, the whole bit. You know,
So Cassidy, you're probably too young to remember this. Phil Rizzuto, you know, Hall of Fame shortstop, you know, played with the Yankees. He went in the booth. He called Roger Maris's 61st home run. And he wasn't that he was losing it. He was just who he was. So we could be watching a game, could be a 3-2 pitch, right? Bases loaded, bottom of the ninth. And he'd go, oh, somebody just brought in cannolis. Great. Have a bite. Right? I mean, but it was so endearing because it was real. Am I lying, Mr. Yankee? Am I lying at all?
He wasn't around for the ninth inning too many times. He used to live it. Hey, seventh inning, I had to get over the bridge.
Yeah, and he'd leave. But you loved it because it was real. Oh, I gotta go.
I just saw the Seinfeld episode last night. Was the one where George, his keys got stuck under the pavement, and so he had to drill it out, and then of course, and it comes up, and then you hear "Holy cow!" As the keys come flying into the street.
One kind of disadvantage I have is since I live in Delaware, I don't get to see a lot of Yankee games. So the announcers sometimes, most of the time, they do the Yankee announcers, but like I said, sometimes other. But I was really disappointed today because the game was on road crew. But when they play the Orioles, I get all the games. So I said, "Oh, great, 3-game series in Baltimore. I'll get to see all the games." But nope, road crew, whatever they call it. And both you guys are out of market teams. It's hard to see them.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a huge. I mean, because my wife's a big Rays fan, we have to pay $21 a month for Amazon just to see the Rays games because you can't. Everything's blacked out on the MLB network and stuff, and so I feel like by now that's cool that they have. You can watch AAA games, you can watch AA games on there, but you can't watch in-market games. It is crazy. We're in 2025, and that's still not a thing. Is crazy to me for sure.
So, Mr. Yankee, you mentioned that you live in Delaware, right? What's going on with the Orioles this year? I mean, I expected a lot more out of that team.
Coming into the season, I wasn't sure.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what to expect. They made some moves. They lost Soto, so they started off good. Belgic got off to a slow start, doing better. Grissom started off great, not so good. But I just don't think they can win because same story every year. Homers.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Yankees.
Second and third, nobody out. Today, can't score. Their defense is bad. Their running is bad. They have a lot of holes. At the beginning of the season, they needed infield help. They got a few outfielders. Okay, this guy can play first, but they need help up the middle. And that's something around the break,
This might sound sacrilegious, but you should get Jeff McNeil on your team, put Acuna at second for the Mets, and just move on. He'd be a wonderful addition for your team.
Yeah, you know what's funny?
A great
It's funny, and I think both Cassidy and Mr. Yankee could agree to that. So when it comes to the Yankees and the Braves, I've never seen, especially the Yankees, never seen when a team is still in first place, they're still playing good, whatever. But we made this analogy last week in the bowling analogy where it's if you don't get a strike, then you're angry. A lot of Yankee fans, and I'm not sure if Joe's still with us online, but not that he's an angry person, but even though they're a first place team, he still sees hey, there's a lot of holes here. There's a lot of that. So with the Yankees, they still don't feel like the team from the 90s and obviously some of the older teams as well. But so that's just the thing. Even though they're insert them here, they made a World Series last year for crying out loud, but it just feels like there's still something a little off. And I don't know. I don't see a ton of Yankee games, but I'm not sure what that is. But
yeah,
I don't know.
I have to agree with that. I'm one of those guys that I expect more. But I want it's any team you root for. You want to see them play well. You want to see them be competitive. Sure, they're in first place, but when you lose you get swept by the Angels after the Orioles swept the Angels. The Yankees, I think they won the last game. They lost 3 out of 4. So,
again,
it's a long season.
Baseball makes no sense, and there's an idea that things should happen, but I mean, like I described, the Braves have already had 2 7-game losing streaks, and a couple of years ago we hadn't lost We hadn't lost 6 straight games in like 8 years, but now all of a sudden, with injury luck, with bad luck, with just playing bad baseball, it's happening, and you're trying to tell yourself, okay, this is just part of it, but it sucks because you expect to be consistent and you expect to be competitive, but there's like 5 or 6 spots in the lineup after the first 5 in our lineup where you don't know if you're going to get a rally. It looks like, as I describe it, as wet paint dry. So, and we're not used to wet paint dry in the Atlanta area. We expect to compete for divisions and things of that nature, but we just keep getting bad injury luck and bad baseball luck and just playing bad baseball at times, and it's hard to swallow, but it's part of it.
Yeah, and Joe nailed it on the head right there. It says build to win enough during the regular season, but not championship worthy team. So, yeah, so Yankees, it's championship or bust with the talent they have and the city that they play in and whatnot. And so, where some teams you just got to get in, like teams like Milwaukee, Kansas City, Minnesota, just get in. The Yankees, they're expected to win a championship. Now, you look at the National League this year, and there's some. I really feel like that's where the big boys are at this year is the National League and all that. But let me add there. But when it comes to the New York Yankees this season, it really, I mean, they need to be the team out of the American League. With the talent and stuff, with Aaron Judge doing, I know he's a little bit of a slump this past weekend, but 27 home runs, 61 RBIs. And then with Atlanta, you just kind of expect them to be there. So, there's not a lot of silver linings. Oh, well, it's just one bad year. It's just, it's kind of like the New England Patriots, where you're used to seeing them run away with the division year after year. I compare the Braves and the Patriots a lot because it was like a foregone conclusion for X amount of years that they were going to win the division. And so, I know Yankees and Braves are, this year is a little bit uneven, but, got guys like Trent Grisham playing good ball and stuff. And so, let me ask you both this question. I'll start with you, Cassidy, and then we'll go to Miss Yankee. In terms of, we know the big names and whatnot, but let's be positive for a minute. So, who is somebody that is outperforming, whether it's a regular day player, whether it's an arm, the rotation? Because I've had a couple complete games recently, which is nice. So, who's someone, starting with you, Cassidy, that is exceeding your expectations on a relatively bad year?
Dylan Lee has been really good. He struggled with the home run ball early in April, but I don't know what his exact numbers are, but I think and I'm probably going to jinx this, and y'all are going to be happy when we play the Mets this week, but I don't think he's given up a run in his last 11 appearances, and he has a 1.94 ERA, and he's just been amazing, and for some reason, he usually tops out at 90, 93, 94. This year he's got 97, 98 in the back pocket, and I don't know where it came from, but I'm happy about that. And Nick Allen, our shortstop, not great with the bat. Obviously, he hasn't been, but his defense, holy geez. I don't think I predicted he would be an absolute vacuum, and so I'm going to give Nick Allen a nod there because his defense has been a joy to watch.
Yeah, there's something to that defense, that good defense. Mr. Yankee, same question.
Rodon, because last year he was okay. He was hurt for a while. This year he stepped it up big time, and a lot of people don't like Jazz Chisholm because he's kind of flamboyant, but he's been a surprise too. That's for the plus side. So
Yeah,
I think those two mostly.
Those okay. Good answers.
Bellinger's done better, a little better than I thought.
Same question to you guys.
Well, actually, Mike, I'll let you take the Mets, but I want to bring up something to both Cassidy and Mr. Yankee after you go.
Okay. So for me, with the Mets, with the Mets, there's a couple different ways we can go with this because some of the guys that I would say a week ago started declining this past 7 days and whatnot. But the one guy that stands out for me, and I know he's had a couple of down outings lately or whatever, but is Griffin Canning, our three starter. I mean, you look at the rotation, and no one really even knew who he was. And then David Peterson, I would go both rotation guys because every Met fan said the same thing before the season started. Like, we're not going to compete because we don't have pitching. We don't have pitching. Senga pitched phenomenal this year. Unfortunately, he's out for 5 or 6 weeks. But Peterson's keeping us afloat. He's getting complete games. And it always felt like Peterson and McGill were like, hey, we'll keep you around if the 5 starters we rather have get hurt and we'll throw you in there. Never really felt like they said, these are our 2 guys. And I feel like Tyler McGill, I know he's slumping a little bit and he's the less than of the 5, but I feel like he's the guy if they say, hey, you know what, we're going to commit to you for a year or 2. You're our guy. There's just something to feeling that. And so those would be my 2 is Griffin Canning and Peterson.
So this is one other thing I want to bring up about the Braves and the Yankees. And I see that they both have the same need. A little bit more on the Braves side, I think, than the Yankees. I mean, pitching is one thing. I think the Yankees need a little help at third base. But since the retirement of Jose Posada, who borderline Hall of Famer, clutch, I think both teams, and if I'm wrong, please let me know, both teams need help behind the dish.
I believe you are wrong.
Good,
from the Braves' perspective. I mean, would you want more offensive production from Sean Murphy? Yes. But from a defensive perspective, he is one of the best catchers in baseball, and Drake Baldwin.
Agreed, 100%.
Drake Baldwin will win the National League Rookie of the Year, in my opinion.
All right, so you feel comfortable there. All right, good. No, that's good because you watch him every day. How about you, Mr. Yankee?
Wells, he drives in for a low average, which is another thing that, like from old school, used to see a guy batting 280, 300. Now, that's not just for the Yankees, for all our teams. But Wells, to me, he's okay, but he can't throw anybody out.
No.
Last time we had a catcher threw somebody else. But I have a question to Cassidy. Who do Braves fans blame for this season?
Who do they not blame for this season? Brian Snicker gets a lot of it. If you go on social media, everything is Matt Olson and Sean Murphy's fault. But I mean, you can go up and down. You could go everywhere. But most if you're going from the top down, I think they blame Liberty Media, our ownership, for the lack of moves. And everybody was surprised that we didn't make it like the splashy moves. But we did add Profar, and then he got popped for 80 games. So whose fault is that? And then the Jeff Hoffman deal fell through because of health issues. The Tanner Scott deal, we were supposed to get Tanner Scott, but then he decided to take the money from the Dodgers. So again, I think it's just everybody is underperforming to the expectations other than Ronald Acuna Jr., Marcell Ozuna, and Matt Olson for the most part. I mean, Michael Harris II is amazing in center field, but he cannot. He's swinging at the invisible baseball right now. So I think you can choose anything and everything that's going wrong. The only person that's not getting much blame is the pitching coach, because our pitching has been absolutely phenomenal for the most part. Starting
pitching. My last question, and I'll let you go, Cassie. Thank you for staying on a little extra with us, or an overtime here. So my last question for you, Cassidy. So this offseason, one thing that the Braves did great, I think we might have talked about this initially last year when we had you on, but they lock up young talent for long periods of time, which is great. And but I want to ask you, as a true Braves fan, what is the perspective of Marcell Ozuna in terms of, obviously we know what he did and some bad stuff there and stuff, but he obviously turned at least his offense around. So what is the consensus? Like, is it like, if he's performing, we like him, and he's not, then we don't? Or have they kind of, okay, we've turned the book on?
I think most people have gone you deserve a second chance route, second, third chance, whatever you want to call it, because the reality is that he started hitting. So everybody was like, all right. And then it started to come out that he's one of our biggest clubhouse leaders. He's one of our biggest guys that the younger guys go to when they're struggling, or he'll say something just little and it'll kind of get in somebody's head and help them. So I think we've gone the second, third chance route. There are some people that don't like Ozuna as much, but again, I think winning cures all and good numbers cure all, but second and third chance, I think most people have kind of moved on from. That's the same thing with Profar coming back. I think most people are like, if he helps us win ball games, he deserves a second chance. Everybody makes mistakes, how egregious they are, one way or the other. But Marcell Ozuna, I think, has endeared himself back to the Atlanta Braves.
Okay, I'm glad to hear all about second chances. Well, thank you so much, and Mr. Yankee, if that's okay, we'll keep you a couple more minutes before our next guest. But Cassidy, thank you so much, and I'll reach out to you on social media after this 4-game series. I'll check on you if need be, and
or check on me again because you're going to sweep us.
Yes. Congratulations, guys, on the milestone. I hope I get there, and
you will.
Just anything else you guys need, let me know.
Thank you so much.
One more thing, Cassidy. Can you share where those can find you to help you get to those numbers?
Yeah. Yes. You can find me Braves Anatomy on YouTube. That is my YouTube channel name. At Casmac_21 on Twitter /X. And the same stuff for Facebook, Cassidy McMahon, all that stuff. You can find me there. And I appreciate the plug, guys.
You got it. Of course,
absolutely. Thank you so much. All right, Mr. Yankee. So we are just, Darren, if you have a final question for Mr. Yankee, then I'll go last after that.
Actually, yeah, I do. Okay. And I kind of brought it up a couple of minutes ago. Jose Posada, in or out Hall of Fame if you were a voter?
To me, nowadays he should be in.
Yep.
The old Hall of Fame, no.
You mean when you actually was for great players? I agree, because now it's like the Hall of Very Good.
The Hall, yes, exactly.
That's another thing that's changed over the. Now I was thinking today. I said, we have pitchers who are not in the Hall of Fame. Won 230, 240 games. They're not in the Hall of Fame. But now, if a pitcher wins 240 games, that's the new 300, right?
Right.
Yep. 240, 250. So are these guys going to get in and win the 250 games? How about
you're going to have to, because you're going to have to lower that bar.
Yeah.
How about Jim Cott?
Yeah.
And
well, he had a longevity career as well. I mean, he went forever. Well, hold on. Let me ask you this question, right? Before we let you go. And I'm going to answer myself first with this question and see what you say. What was the greatest Yankee pitcher of your lifetime as a Yankee? I'm going to go first. I think Ron Guidry's season in '78 was the greatest Yankee pitcher season I've ever seen.
I agree with that, without a doubt. He should have won MVP. Rice did, but should have won both.
Yep, he should have. It was amazing. Mike, in your life, what was the greatest Met pitcher you've seen season?
What?
Of your
greatest?
So
there's a couple answers. I think for my first answer is going to throw you for a loop, but for a very short period, for like a year to 2 year, I'll say a 2 year.
That's what we're talking about. A year or two.
For a 2 year window, again, like I just feel like he aged like wine. He was a very old. I'm going to go with for a short period, R.A. Dickey.
R.A. Dickey, yes.
For that short time, he was unhittable for that short time.
Yes.
But of course, there's some other easy low hanging fruits there and stuff like that. But I would say for a shortest time, then, of course, Jacob deGrom, what he was able to do in a little bit longer of a period. But overall, there's just parts of Sid Fernandez game that I just hold on to the most from what I remember as well. So those would be my 3 in different stages.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Gooden was great in '85. Don't get me wrong. But if you're not going to talk about the legends, Nolan Ryan, Tom Seaver, those guys, R.A. Dickey was unhittable for 2 years. Unhittable.
Yes. And I was at a game where it was a one hitter, but they.
What'd you say? What'd you say, Mr.
Mets let him go at the right time, though.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
That was a smart move. Because when we went to Toronto, wheels fell off.
Yes, yeah.
What about Al Leiter?
Listen, I'm going to answer your question with a question. What team do you put him in? Was he a Yankee? Was he a Met? Or was he a Marlin? Marlin. I agree. But yeah, Al Leiter was great with the Mets. That one year that they went to the World Series, he was arguably their best pitcher.
Yeah, absolutely.
He shut down the Reds. Remember in that playoff game, 5-0.
Yeah. And we do get one.
Mickey Lolich. Oh, over the hill. We traded Rusty Staub for Mickey Lolich. The guy was 900 pounds. And he was Ray Sadecki and Mickey Lolich. The Mets, when the Mets stars. That's when the wheels fell off.
Yeah. Let me ask you guys this question. This is just.
How about Santana? Only
Santana
pitcher,
got the
right?
no-hitter. Yep.
My final question, and then we'll have you. Then we'll let you go for time, and I appreciate you jumping on and stuff. Mets and Yankees, right? We're talking about Mets and Yankees. Is there that you can remember the most prolific Mets-Yankees trade of all time that you could think of off the cuff? You kind of have to dig into the brain for that because it's not an easy question,
right.
but. I actually had to look this up because I was curious. So if you're not sure, I'll go ahead and say it. But
no.
So the one that I found was Robin Ventura and David Justice. That happened in the I believe it was the 2001 season. That was a big one. But I'm sure there were other ones too, but that one stood out to me for that. So
and didn't. Ventura won a World Series with the Yankees, didn't he? Or no?
Yeah.
Ventura, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Ventura. Yeah. No, I thought just. I was at the game when Ventura hit the grand slam for the Mets, what was a grand slam? But it turned out it wasn't a grand slam.
Right, it was a single because why not run the bases? What are you doing?
So good. But thank you for jumping on, celebrating 3,000 subscribers with us. Hopefully, it's the start of many more.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it very much. We will talk to you soon. And have a great rest of your night. Keep watching if you want in the background. So thank you so much.
Darren, Jason and I are going to Miami in August, first week in August, to see the Yankees.
I love that. I love that. Mike, seriously, you should meet him.
Yeah, it's not far. I mean, well, it's not around the corner, but it's
he's down there. That'd be great.
Have a great time, guys. Take care.
Be well.
See you later. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and we are still live, folks. I'm going to go ahead and show on this intro video that I wanted to play about a minute long. I'm going to stretch my legs here, and then we've got a couple more guests. I think it's a total of 3 more coming on before we sign this thing off. This is our super show. Usually we keep it to an hour. Tonight we're here for the long haul. We appreciate you very much, each and every one of you that are watching. So go ahead and throw this on, and we'll be back with you in just about a minute and a half's time. So just stay with us for what's next.
Hold up, did we just hit 3,000 subscribers? Somebody break out the confetti. Let's celebrate with sports, WWE, and July 4th madness. First up, sports fans, what's your go-to stadium snack? Hot dogs, nachos, or ice cream in a helmet? Drop your pick in the comments. Now, if you could visit any sports venue, where would you go? I'm thinking front row at a WWE SmackDown, chairs flying, drama at max level. And speaking of drama, 4th of July is coming. Fireworks, grilling, and that one uncle who takes cornhole way too seriously. Thank you for helping us hit 3K subs. Seriously, you guys rock. Tell me your favorite July 4th tradition, your dream sports arena, or your wildest WWE moment. Let's make this party legendary, right here in the comments.
All right. We are back. And Darren, had to get a cookie too. I was hungry. Before we keep going, this has been a blast so far. I still can't believe it's been 3,000. But it was cool to get to talk to who we've talked to already. Some friendly faces.
And great stuff. So everybody's just doing a great job. I'm just so impressed.
So much fun. Thank you. And it's just been blast. And we got 3 more coming. So the next guest will be right here with us in about 5 minutes time at the most. So
I just wanted to listen. I wanted to just remind our viewers and listeners of something. Do you want to know what that is?
I do want to know as I eat this cookie.
Look at that. Oh my gosh, that cookie looks so good. And speaking of the cookie, you know what's great? Hey, Palm Bay, Fort Pierce. Are tax problems weighing you down? Are you behind on filings? Are you facing a lien? Nashville Tax Solutions here with the expertise and dedication you need. Their experienced team handles the IRS, so you don't have to. But don't just hear from us. Clients say it best. Chris Bennett and his team turned a nightmare into peace of mind. They're sharp, they're honest, and they truly care. Don't let tax stress take over your life. Call 855-627-4829. Visit NashvilleTaxSolutions.com or email info@NashvilleTaxSolutions.com today. Nashville Tax Solutions, real help and real results.
Thank you for that again. And each time we get to that different milestone, right? We had Presidential Tourist on 60,000 subscribers. I believe when I met him in September of last year, he was somewhere in the 40,000 range or 50,000 range. But that's a huge jump in a short amount of time. And he mentioned his big goal of 100,000, of course. And once you reach certain milestones, you get all these invites and stuff. But we're just so very grateful. Like 3,000 is a huge number. And have a sponsor, not only at 3,000, but from less than 100. We say it almost every podcast, but we're so blessed to have that team support us. And so not a day goes by where we don't say thank you and we appreciate you. And so continued success. And I know we mentioned the 2 offices. I'm sure many more to come in the future. And probably maybe even in Nashville, right? We put that into existence. We'll have a Nashville office there too. So thank you guys so much. So one of the things too, what we talk about as we have our wait for our next guest to pop in, we love to sometimes we love having our guests on, and sometimes we have episodes where Marianne mentions, or Mom mentions, congratulations, can sign off. I have a friend coming over. Hello, friend. Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate it. Make sure you hit the like button before you go. So sometimes we just have fun just talking about all the topics and stuff. So when our next guest pops on, we kind of briefly touched on it, but I want to talk on the whole perspective of Rafael Devers going to San Francisco, because there seems to be this change of heart, but it's how much of that is actually him, how much of that is his guy telling him what to say and whatnot. That whole thing. And Alex Bregman's still not quite back yet. So I want to definitely make sure whoever the next guest is, hopefully it's someone appropriate for that conversation. But we'll talk a little bit about
Bam Bigelow.
So, well, I mean, if he jumps on, then we're really got some problems, because I think we see Jake DeMarco in the chat, big wrestling guy, friend of mine. If Bam Bigelow walks,
you, Jake.
I'm not letting him in. I'm just letting you know because I don't know what's going. Now I remember we joked about that. I remember one time when it was I think it was obviously Bridget and Frank from so when I think it was Bridget had just passed, and Frank never made phone calls really for my perspective and whatnot. I remember one time it was like a week after pass, and I looked in the caller ID and it had her number and stuff, and I was just like, no, I'm not getting that phone call. What's happening? How is she calling right now? And sometimes that'll happen, or out of area, that sort of thing. But with Bam Bigelow, he was a guy that he was never world heavyweight champion in the major company and things like that. But he was just a guy like Superfly Jimmy Snuka that just made their mark on the business.
I love Jimmy.
Yeah, because what they were able to do, like nowadays, you have to be in to be mainstream where people know who you are. You have to be in a movie or something like that. Like these are guys that just were able to have that crossover appeal without being in major films and all that sort of stuff. So so needless to say, but yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about that as well tonight in terms of the Rafael Devers situation and how that played out, because there's certain people I want on my team, not on the team. We mentioned Cespedes with the Mets, who didn't really run things out and was just questionable decisions. And that guy, I was excited to get him at first, and then I was just, okay, this is the basket case, here. Haven't heard much about him ever since he kind of basically disappeared off the planet. I am kind of surprised he didn't show up on another roster. But any names that you could think of just out there that just like was so much of a diva that it just didn't pan out because they couldn't get there? Think of guys like Johnny Manziel. Like any other names that you can think of that?
None come to mind, but a lot of them do. If you understand what I mean, like a specific name. There's a lot of these people that they just think that they are just better than they are, or just the fact that they made it, and they're so used to being the best player around growing up that now you're in the majors, people are still going to feel that way. No, you're not. You're going to be a prima donna. It's not worth it. There's an old saying, Mike, that says sometimes the juice is not worth the squeeze, right? So when you have somebody who is divisive in the clubhouse, Greg Jeffries, right? He's a perfect example. Divisive in the clubhouse. And I saw a person recently try to defend him, and really it's nothing to defend. Not a bad person, just didn't fit.
Great. That's a great call out. And I didn't mean to cut you off, but we have our next guest in the thing, so we'll let him in. So let's start that countdown clock, and then we'll find out who's All right. So coming back, it's been a little while, but we are so excited to have you back with us. Of course, we happen to be talking about the whole Rafael Devers situation, whatnot, and just time-wise, it worked out perfectly. But first and foremost, if you wouldn't mind just sharing with everybody watching along live here, or live on X, on YouTube, on Facebook, where they can find you, what it is that you do, the name of the podcast that I keep an eye on each and every week, make sure that I listen to some content and whatnot. So go ahead, if you wouldn't mind just sharing with our listeners what you do.
Mike, I didn't know we were talking about the Devers thing, so I'm out. See you. I'm just kidding.
I love that.
So no, I'm I'm one of the co-hosts of the Pesky podcast. We were just wrapping things up moments ago of our San Francisco wrap up, and then the Angels preview. I'm also run BSEN, Boston Sports Entertainment Network, where we have multiple podcasts that cover all major Boston sports. The Celtics, we have several Bruins podcasts, several Patriots podcasts. So you can find us at Pesky_podcast on Twitter. And our YouTube channel is at BSEN617. Guys, thanks for having me come on again. I had a blast the first time.
Thank you.
And they say it takes something big to bring us back together, but we didn't need this.
Right? Yes, I know. We'll get it out of the way. We'll put a little timer on there so we're not talking too much about Devers, because he's now that guy over there. I guess my question, let's put it this way, and then Darren, you can jump in however you feel fit. But we're hearing a lot of, I'll play here, I'll play there. But we were not getting that, obviously, anything like that in spring training and whatnot. So just your kind of thought in terms of the way that he's answering questions and that sort of thing. And at the end of the day, though, even though this is not good situation, they're still in a wild card spot as of right now, as is that entire division minus Baltimore. So starting there is what you're seeing on the Giants side, how that kind of makes you feel a little bit. And then as a fan, can they still get into one of those spots? Because it just takes a spot to get in. They just got to get in. That's all that matters.
To talk about Devers, you got to go back to a little bit around right before spring training when it was the most horrible communication skills I've ever seen in my entire life happening. When you had Devers asking, what's going on? I see these rumors with Bregman or Arenado, and they're like, no, you're good. You're our third baseman. Okay. Then you get into spring training. You sign Bregman. Oh, he's our second baseman. Okay. Devers showed up to spring training a month earlier than anybody else. So he was there like the middle of January. So he goes and does his goes back home. Daughter has a birthday. He comes back. What's the first thing he sit there and sees? Bregman playing third base. Wait, what? You've been telling me this whole time, don't worry. And then all of a sudden you want me to DH? Then all of a sudden, communication issue right there, right from the door. And then Devers goes to DH, and he starts off the season with the most atrocious 0 for 19. And I looked at it, we covered it on the podcast. The 0 for 19 start was because he didn't have enough stats in spring training or enough of bats in spring training.
Yes.
So then you got your routine down, boom. All of a sudden he goes off on a tear. And he gets told by, them, you don't need to take ground balls, in pregame, you're DH. Okay. Then all of a sudden, Casas goes down, and that was a freak accident. So all of a sudden, the media, and I blame most of the problems on the media, where they kept taking something or taking nothing and making something out of it, redundantly. I blame part on the translator, who did probably one of the most piss poor jobs I've ever seen translating for Devers. But there's only so many ways you can ask or communicate to Devers on, do you play third base? Do you play third base? Where you play third base? You can only ask that question so many different ways, and you get frustrated afterwards. I noticed in the Giants press conference, because, we had a guy on our podcast to cover the Giants last week, Conrado Pascal, who stated they had several Dominican Republic players on their team. And the translator that they used for Devers was a way more professional translator than what the Red Sox organization has. So that was, one thing I've seen. What was Devers in the wrong? 50-50. It goes both ways, I say. But I just think Devers was unhappy, and I think the final straw was when he called out Breslow. Like, why are you worried about me? The GM can do his job and get us a first baseman. And as soon as he called out Breslow, he signed his own
at that point.
In my opinion. Then you go to San Francisco, and everything's 180. Well, why not? Well, why? Because Buster Posey, a former player, just like Breslow, but you can see the two different tones. Buster Posey's probably said to him, this is what we expect from you. We want you here. Boom, gave him the list. We don't know where you're going to fit in. We have Matt Chapman at third base. Right now we got Big Dom Smith at first. So we're going to have you at DH. But if needed, we might need to move you around. Devers is like, okay. But guess what? Buster Posey talked to him and told him ahead of time, this is what we might need from you. Something Breslow didn't do. And I look at AC as somebody that's like, okay, you're supposed to be the go-between between Breslow and the players. Where were you at in this whole thing? Like, you're supposed to be the one to help put out fires, not let them keep going. And I was expecting Devers to be traded in the offseason, possibly. I didn't expect nowhere near like this quick. But and then, you know, you always got these comments afterwards. I respect David Ortiz, 100%. But, dude, you're a paid employee of the Boston Red Sox. There's no need to show those text messages. There's no need for any of that. Then you got people that aren't employees and getting a paycheck. Pedro, Manny Ramirez. Like, this kid was, he just wanted to play baseball and stuff. And that's all he ever wanted to do. He just wanted to play baseball. He didn't want to be the face. He didn't want to be Aaron Judge, Mike Trout. He didn't want to be the face of the organization. He just wanted to go out, and play baseball. And in my opinion, that's why they signed Alex Bregman. So they had a mentor to some of these younger kids. But to have Bregman come on, and even Alex Cora said he was going to be a second baseman, and then have him take 0 reps, that's a slap in the face overall to Devers and the fans. And you can't be respected if you're lied to, consistently. Right. So,
if I may just kind of put another layer of paint on this real quick, and I'm going to talk for a minute about nothing really baseball related with this, because, and Whit, I think you hit a home run with this, no pun intended. This is, if it was a movie, it's the failure to communicate. This is the reality of, and I taught this for years in the corporate world. Soft skills are really hard. I don't care if you're great at analytics. I don't care if you're this or that. You can put together a great team of knowledgeable people and they can work a spreadsheet. No. You need to be able to communicate effectively. Be transparent in what you do. Soft skills are really hard. This is a classic example of how, and by the way, this is a lot like the Tom Seaver trade. I'll get involved with in a minute. What happened here was what was expected. Look at what we just talked about. Buster Posey did it right. Here's what we're going to do. We may have you here, man. There was no question. Any questions? Follow up. Done correctly. Translator spot on. What the Red Sox did, and I live in Massachusetts. What the Red Sox did was completely use no soft skills, no ability to translate their vision to the player, and vice versa. Don't lie, because once you get someone, and it's not today's player or nothing like that. It's 50-50. It's the reality of you have to know who your employee is. Remember this. I don't care. Look, adults are nothing more than big children, and children are nothing but small adults. My meaning is this. When a kid quits a sport, he quits not the sport. He quits the coach. He quits the manager. That's what happened here. Now, I bring up the Mets because with Tom Seaver, real quick, people don't realize this. This is what it was like to me. Because, Devers may not be a Hall of Famer, but the Mets got garbage back for Tom Seaver because he wanted a new contract, and he agreed to a contract. And then Dick Young, a reporter, heard it directly from one of the GMs about, they said something derogatory about his wife, kind of pushing the money and this and that. And the next day he went in and he said, trade me. That's failure to communicate properly. And then they ended up getting Steve Henderson, Dan Norman, and Mike Phillips. Who? Okay. And that's what happened here. And this is a front office snafu. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I completely agree. Like, you listen to stories from Pedro where he went in and with the whole Lester, there was a disagreement. Pedro goes, "Let me talk to him," and he got Lester back to the table. It didn't work out,
Right.
but he talked to him and got him back to the table. You know what I mean? And Pedro said, I can't remember what show it was on, one of the Red Sox. It was along the lines of, when he was working on trying to get his deal, he wanted to stay and be a Red Sox, and he's pretty much said, don't ever let them know how much you want to be here and stay here, because they're using it against you. You know what I mean? So it's just really bad communication. And Darren, you quoted probably one of my top 3 movies of all time, Cool Hand Luke. So
very good.
And it's exactly what we have here is failure to communicate. But it wasn't even a failure. It wasn't even really an attempt. Like,
so true.
Breslow had what he wanted, and he didn't want to sit there and work and communicate that down to Devers. So
and this whole thing aside, and obviously we look toward the future, whatnot. They sent Christian Campbell, got sent down, and kind of things are kind of in a thing, but they're still sitting there, like I mentioned, in that second wild card spot. Teams like Minnesota have kind of fallen down a little bit, Kansas City a little bit. So moving this thing forward and whatnot, do you feel, you would know more than the two of us combined, but with the trade deadline and all that kind of stuff, what is the next move in your opinion to get them to, because all I got to do is make the playoffs. So at this point, he's gone. It is what it is. Some lack of communication, all that stuff. It's a shame. Shouldn't happen. But how do we take this thing and move it forward? Because we still have, at the end of the day, we have a city that's dedicated. Couldn't be, and I think we had you on before I went on my trip, but couldn't have had a better experience in Boston when I went. The nicest fan base and such a great time. So you're kind of rooting for them as an outsider looking in to kind of get over this hump and go, hey, we're still here. So just your thoughts on what that move is going to be at the deadline, if any, to get them to where they need to be to kind of right this ship.
First things first is you have to figure out a way to replace somehow a 905 OPS. Like that should be your number one thing, because that's not easy, and you're not going to get it in the free agent market this offseason. Mm-hmm. So you got to figure out a trade, and you got to take possible advantage of teams that are in, are down and out. We were just sitting there and talking about next up, you got to look for a number 2 starter, because what you have, you don't have a number 2 starter. You got Garrett Crochet, and then you can hope that Giolito keeps going, Bayo keeps going. Hunter Dobbins just went down. Everybody's reporting it's elbow inflammation, but I reached out to him. It's forearm tightness. So I don't know where they got that at. But you got Fitz, and then Bueller's just been off the track, overall. So, man, so you look at as of right now, trade deadlines, a little ways to go away. But, you look at teams, Arizona Diamondbacks, they're 8 out of the division. So, you could reach out to Zach Gallen.
Zach Gallen, yeah. I like Zach Gallen a lot. And the guy, I feel bad for the Marlin fan base, but I don't. Sandy Alcantara, I know his ERA is a little bit high, but I feel like he'd fit like a glove as well.
Yeah. Staying in that division, the Nationals, you're not going to get nothing for Gore. They ain't giving that up. That was one of the key pieces in the Soto. But, you could look for a Jake Irvin or maybe a Trevor Williams to help you out along those lines. Another one would be Kansas City with a Seth Lugo.
Yeah, the rumor is that he's on a trading block. That they're willing for the right move to move him.
Minnesota, Chris Paddock, would be someone that you could look at. The Rangers, they're 7 out of the division, but they're only 2 games out of the wild card right now. A lot of people are like, oh, maybe, Evaldi, Maul, or DeGrom. I don't see, as of right now, I don't see them doing anything. So it's like, man, you got to have, pitching, to get you going there. And then, how do we get that? Well, we've got a little bit of a crowded outfield here. If you haven't noticed, we've got Wilyer Abreu, Jaron Durant, Ceddanne Rafaela, Roman Anthony. And if you don't love Rob Refsnyder, then you don't love baseball. Like,
yeah, so true.
So it's like, okay, you can only rotate them in and out so long. Christian Campbell's down, learning first base. You kind of need a first baseman solid. So, but they're looking at it. Bregman's back. He stays at third. Then you could, move Meyer to second or flip-flop Story and Meyer. And then hopefully, Christian Campbell can come up and play some first base. He's probably one of the smallest first basemen, size-wise. And then, catcher, you got probably one of the biggest surprises, even for us Red Sox fan, Carlos Narvaez, who is absolutely on fire. But you need another bat. You can't sit there and subtract Devers and not replace that bat in that lineup. It's hard. So
very hard. And I feel like I feel like there's got to be the right guy out there. Whoever that might be. I think of, we're Mets fans. I think of a guy like Mark Vientos, who quote unquote is a third baseman, probably can play some first. You don't want to see him go or anything like that, but there's some talent there because we do have a crowded infield in terms of plethora of talent and stuff. So feel like they'll figure it out. The right guy will jump there. But I just want to say thank you so much for hopping on and stuff. I know you have the next.
Can I ask one quick question, real quick?
Course. Yeah.
And it's shallow, but I love this stuff. Right, we're around the ballpark. The new City Connect uniforms. What's the pulse? What are you hearing? We like them. We don't like them. The Green Monster.
I actually love when there's thought put behind something, and there's a lot of thought that went in those. Just like with the Yellow City Connects, with the marathon and stuff. I love them. I went out and got
one.
Good to hear. Unfortunately, I went out and got the wrong player. So yeah,
I'm sorry. I had no idea.
I went and got a Devers Green City Connect, but then I got a Crochet Yellow City Connect. So
I feel like Tampa and Boston got the connects right, because a lot of teams got it horribly wrong. Both when I sat in Fenway after I was admiring everything else there was to admire, I'm looking around and seeing and I'm like, man, I really like this a lot. Like, we're a little critical on some of the uniform stuff, but I really did like that. But we will make sure to. Oh, go ahead.
I say I really liked the White Sox, a little throwback to the Bulls.
Yes,
in the '90s.
Yeah, they were Bull uniforms. I like, or at least an homage. It was beautiful.
For sure. Yep. Well, thank you so much. I know you got some things you got to do tonight as well. But thank you for giving us some time here, and for supporting us, and we'll continue to do the same for you guys. And I just really appreciate it. It's been an awesome, 15 months now since we started this thing. And so just want to say thank you, and we'll continue to keep that communication open, and we will hopefully talk to you sooner than later. Appreciate it very much.
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. All right, so we're going to switch gears here, and the next guest is a brand new guest to the show. Hasn't been on before. We got him and then one other guest. So here we go. Next. All right. So we have Jake DeMarco, who's been in our chat since the start. He actually was even commenting in hours before the video went live, which is awesome. So Jake, thank you so much. We have to throw in a little WWE content, and just got to say, for whatever reason, in the last 10 minutes, we just had the writ on, but we are now in the high 36 people watching right now, where we've been kind of in the early 20s. So I think here we're ready to talk some WWE.
Well, I want to start off and say congratulations. What an awesome milestone. Glad to see the community growing and you guys just building up, and a longtime lurker and watcher, as you know. So it's great to go ahead. You guys are usually live when we do stuff and cover the wrestling on Sundays, but it's always good to go back and catch you out. And honestly, just congratulations. Great to see you grow, and just want to see you guys, continue to pick up there. Next time I come around, better be 100,000 subscribers. I'm telling you.
We'd love that.
Yes, we would.
Had a very wide array of eclectic and amazing guests on tonight. The whole show has been absolutely outstanding, and it's great to see the breadth and wealth of different levels of notoriety you've had from here. You've had people all the way up to 70,000 plus subscribers onwards. So hopefully you guys get that rub and keep growing. It's great to see. I am rather worried now. The weekend we went into it with a great SmackDown. John Cena cut this pretty epic pipe bomb of his own that he did the reverse of the CM Punk all those years ago, just about on the date of the anniversary. They came quite close. So
very close, like within a week. Yeah,
trying to make it special. And then no matter which side you stand on the political field, unfortunately wrestling's being affected, and with the possibility of World War III starting, it looks like Night of Champions is now really up in the air. So some people tend to think this might be an idea by CM Punk all along. He's been colluding so he doesn't really have to go to Saudi Arabia, and this way he's not a hypocrite. I don't know. Maybe he's got his fingers on some buttons, but overall, I am excited to see this show, believe it or not. But I'm even more excited to see where it takes place now. I've heard that they're still sticking straight ahead with the plans, but
as of an hour ago, I saw that. I was surprised. I feel like if it was any other city or place, they would probably consider something. I know it's hard last minute to but if they really wanted to, they could shift it to the following Monday Night's Raw or something and have like a really high rated.
Nailed it there. You said something that's very correct. If it was anywhere else, if France was having an issue right now, and they would reschedule and say, oh, we'll do Royal Rumble in France. Here you go. Don't worry, we'll switch this out. Because it's Saudi, with the relationship they have, with the payments involved, with their being in such a deficit. I mean, you don't realize how negative TKO is as far as their earnings is great, but they are at a severe billion dollar loss. So every little bit's important to them, as we've seen them getting rid of talent left and right, and we're not getting trades. They're just letting people go, unfortunately. So
unfortunately, and
utilize TNA a bit better in that regard, shove a few people off rather than just outright fire them. But hey.
Yeah, and Darren, I know you're not as much in the wrestling game as the two of us might be, but one of the things that's funny because WWE purchased, or they have the agreement, not purchased, but they have the agreement with TNA. They purchased AAA, but so they work hand in hand with TNA, who's been around for a very long time, went back and forth, Impact, whatever. But it's kind of funny because they've been releasing some talent, and so over the time they would either sign with AEW, Ring of Honor, or they go to TNA. Well, now that they have a partnership agreement with TNA, they had a guy like Cedric Alexander, who was released from WWE, shows up in TNA, who works hand in hand. Francis, already been released twice from WWE, shows up on NXT. So it's just kind of funny that they have this company that they work side with. They're releasing talent and they're going there, and then they're working with them anyway. It's kind of a unique situation there.
The one that makes me chuckle the most was Elias. He was the drifter. He would walk around with a guitar and sing to the fans and tell everybody to WWE, walk with Elias. And Then he needed to leave. Yeah, they let him go. So he wanted to keep the E name, so he went to Elijah. And TNA picked him pretty much up right away. And he's been essentially back in WWE since, just going under a totally different name. So Kevin Owens and a few others still call him Elias, funny enough. But everyone else, it's Elijah. You know, those little things. Like you said, if they could work that in a little bit better, it would be just a little more streamlined and a little less impractical getting rid of people. But this upcoming weekend, I mean, CM Punk, John Cena. I'm thinking Cena. This might just be a foregone conclusion that Cena wins the title. He stays as heel champ, but for how long really is the question. I think the big draw of the shows, and under the guise of baseball, they've been doing this great tournament for King and Queen of the Ring. And we've worked it down to both finals. So now we have essentially whatever happens on Monday between Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes taking on Randy Orton. And it's exciting. And then we're going to see who wins on Monday. And, does Jade walk away victorious or not? And we turn away to the women's side. So it's going to be pretty damn exciting, I think, overall, getting us to the finals. I've been enjoying the qualifying matches and the way they delivered it so far. The brackets and tournament was fun to see it turn out. So certainly,
yeah. And what's interesting, and I see Darren, you had something you were to share. So in just a second. But what's interesting about this Final Four, because people don't appreciate it as much, I feel, that we got a Final Four of all the top baby faces, and absolutely. I feel like they are going somewhere. But so people are complaining, just why is Jey Uso in there? Why wasn't it this guy? Well, you know what? Let's just enjoy what we got. We got the top 4 people in the company doing their thing, having these maybe not first time matches, but in a really, really long time. And we're getting to possibly the feud that we've been wanting since the Bloodline story, for the most part, ended last year. Was we're getting? It looks like we're getting the Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton start. It's going to be a start of many to come, and so I'm excited. I'm very excited to see it, and as I am the CM Punk and thing. And did you see the with the CM Punk stuff? And I'm sure it wasn't, but some people are stretching online. You got to watch out for who's on social media and some of the stuff.
No doubt about it.
The whole CC for Colt Cabana, and then they used Claudio Castagnoli, and then he picked the names Matt and Nick, and I was like, okay, that's whatever. But Darren, go ahead.
But if you do consider it, you're like, it kind of does have its touch there. It is interesting. It is something, and that kind of shows the creativeness of the fandom and how much it means to them. Hello. Congratulations to you as well.
Let's
you got the Tampa Rays going on. Smart way to go.
Our guests are just coming over my house now.
Hey, that's awesome. Just getting them pile on in the background, jumping in. I know you don't follow wrestling too much, Darren, but it's like, Red Sox and Yankees, this whole Cena and Punk thing. It's the rivalry that continues on forever. And having them now turn it where they have Punk being the good guy and John being the evil bastard. He's this nemesis. He's really, trying to be this nefarious fellow. It kind of fell off the rails a little bit early on with The Rock's involvement and him disappearing suddenly. But John has been, especially with this pipe bomb, delivering more. And in a great turn of events, we had 4 of the top babyfaces, like you mentioned. Jay, Randy, you had Sami Zayn and Cody Rhodes. On the women's side, we had Asuka return. She hasn't been there for over a year. That was massive, and it felt like they just kind of threw her on TV, like, "Oh yeah, by the way, she's back," and they made
she's
it a
here,
big deal. So now she's in the finals, going up against either Roxanne or Jade, as we mentioned, and I'm thinking we're going to see Asuka take it, and on the other side, I think it's going to be Cody Rhodes. Him and Randy are going to have a long feud to go, but I think they want Cody and John at SummerSlam. Although they could do it with Randy and John again, as the way they finished it at Backlash was kind of a non-finish with R-Truth getting involved. I do see them wanting to maybe turn this a little bit earlier. I don't feel like the heel turns worked as well as they thought it was going to. And maybe they do kind of end things a little bit sooner and have John finish out the year with the babyface, rah-rah Cena. He could go through the remainder of the year. But with this being his goodbye, him being able to be a heel should have been something momentous, and instead it just doesn't have that bit of that grandiose feel to it. So I feel like they're kind of wasting his last year with some of these quick matches and one-off feuds. So if they're really going to give us something special, it's like, oh, we're finally getting Cena and Punk, but it's in Saudi and it's at Night of Champions. So it wasn't Money in the Bank and it wasn't in America, and people were still behind it. But it's kind of the theme of WWE this year. They're still delivering really great content, but it's a little less than last year. Things are a little bit
exactly a little less, and it can be on 3
less.
in the afternoon. Yep, a little like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Darren, go ahead. You had your.
So my question was, and again, I love the business component of all of this, all sports, and that is, are these people who were released, were they at the end of the contract?
Yes.
Were they just released like a manager gets fired in the middle of a season and they can't work anywhere else?
So
are they just
most
parked?
of them were let go at the end of their contracts and not renewed.
So they weren't fired as much as it just wasn't renewed.
Yes, a majority of them were not re-signed, not renewed. There were a portion of the NXT talent that they basically they were cut, but the way that they're on and the basis that they have for terms, it is a little more less strict in terms of like time frames. So the NXT crowd can be cut on a shorter basis because they have a less non-compete clause attached to their contract.
Well,
so
you just segued very nicely for what I was going to ask you. So now,
you said
does that wrestler lose that character and the character has to stay? Do they get to retain the name if they've been fired? I mean, who owns all that stuff?
Sadly, it sounds like a non-answer, but it really all depends. It comes down to each individual person now. A lot of people are wrestling under their own names, and they're trademarking them before they go to the WWE, which is a rarity.
Smart.
So we saw a big star in AEW just come to WWE, and her name was Mariah May, and now she's going to be known as Blake Monroe. So no longer Mariah May. Mariah May is her first and middle name. So it was interesting that she didn't get to keep it. And something happened to another star. Ricky Starks became Ricky Saints. But we saw Ethan Page come in with his name and his gimmick. So it's a new development. Typically, until the last, I want to say 5 to 8 years, really since NXT's been involved with WWE as the third brand, they started allowing people to come in with their indie names, their original backgrounds, that groundswell of support they already built in the independents or elsewhere. They were allowing them to keep that, take that forward with them, and use that as momentum to get to the main roster. And it worked well rather than starting with a new character. You know, we had Kevin Steen become Kevin Owens, so it was kind of a bit of a change. But then after that, we saw people come in and they were themselves, and it worked great. So it depends. Some people leave, they can keep the gimmick. Other people leave and they can have to change it ever so slightly. Maybe they can't do certain parts of their gimmick before, like Daniel Bryan couldn't do the yes gimmick, but he could keep other elements of himself, the goat stuff and whatnot. Some of the trademarks exist, but typically WWE likes to own everything. They want to have it under that bubble, that banner, and they like to keep everything in-house. So when you get released now, you tend to have more rights than you did before, but there is a non-compete clause, and main roster is 90 days and NXT is 30 days. So you're not stuck long time without wrestling, and because there is no off season, they can't just say you start at the beginning of the next season. So they just typically give that 3-month or 30-day time frame.
Right, because what a lot of companies do, AEW for example, they shelve people because they're like, okay, out of sight, out of mind. If they are going to go somewhere else, let's pretend they don't exist for a period of time, and then that way when they get signed somewhere else, people won't talk about it. The complete opposite happens time and time again. I'm under the mindset like, if someone doesn't want to be there, let them go. You have a plethora of talent. And as bad as AEW has been in terms of telling stories lately, they still have a plethora of talent there. So it never worked. It's not like, oh, Ray Phoenix showed up to WWE. Who is that guy? I'm not sure. One thing that's kind of weird, and shout out, we're now up to 50 viewers online. So thank you guys so much for watching along with us. But and we have our final guest jumping in. And Jake, even though it's more baseball related, feel free to stay with us for our last guest when he pops in a few minutes. But one thing I've noticed is kind of funny is, so both Shotzi and Elena Black, who obviously was Cora Jade.
Yeah.
What is it when they go to GCW? Is it like a clause where they have to face male talent and get things thrown at them? Like,
yeah, they want to prove that they're as tough as the guys. I mean, Gigi was she's been doing this for quite some time, and Shotzi has been in the deathmatch scene just as well. So she got plucked out of the deathmatch scene. She was going to have a match with Nick Gage right before she went to WWE. So she's been a longtime supporter of Girls Could Do Anything, Watch Me Kick Ass, and I feel like that's their mindset. They're there to show off. They want to go ahead and, hey, we're as strong and tough as the guys. And then the next thing you know, they got pizza cutters flying at them. But
right, yeah,
it tends to be the playbook of a lot of the women that want to make a name for themselves in the indie scene now. I don't mind the intergender wrestling, but it's the deathmatch style that I'm never a big fan of.
Never a fan.
You know,
yeah.
hitting the skewers, the light tubes, all of that does nothing for me. And
no.
you see,
because we see it so much. It's like,
yeah,
right? Because with WWE, when we see it, it's rare. Few and far between. So when we see it, it's important. When we see
Absolutely.
Moxley doing it against AR Fox on Collision, I mean, like, you know, who's watching at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and let our last guest in, and we'll continue the chat here. Final guest coming to you. All right, so we have our last guest here from the Incline Dodgers podcast. We had you back on early May, so thank you so much, Kevin, for being with us tonight. We're doing Royal Rumble style with the guests as they come in. That's the 10-second countdown clock that you just saw.
Over the top rope.
Yes, and Darren and I had he had no idea of who the guests were going to be tonight. We just kind of lined it up and just had fun with it. So thank you so much for being part of our 3000 celebration show tonight. Appreciate it.
Love it. Yeah, congrats, guys. Thanks for having me.
We so you know it's funny this may be a bad segue, but I'm a 43-year-old dad, so I can make bad segues and bad dad jokes and stuff. But so we're talking WWE right now a little bit, and so let's go. So this past weekend we saw a little bit of WWE type style in the Dodgers Padres series going on with went on there with Ohtani and with Tatis and all that kind of stuff. And I feel like I saw some comments from Ohtani, like I forget the exact words, maybe you know, but it was like such well spoken, like was so perfectly said. But if you wouldn't mind, if those that may not know about what happened this past weekend with that series, I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's the Padres and the Dodgers, and they're doing their thing. This is a big rivalry, and you know, so. But what are your kind of thoughts on how that transpired, and what you liked, what you didn't like about it?
From like a regular season standpoint, it definitely felt like the most tense matchup between the Dodgers and Padres that I can ever recall. There was a total of 8 players hit by pitches, 4 on each side. Fernando Tatis Jr. got hit 3 times. Shohei Ohtani got hit twice. Despite all the yapping, Manny Machado was able to escape not getting hit by any pitches. But Mike Schilt was definitely fired up. Looked like he had a lot of resentment. Maybe he was still holding a grudge that he was the manager of the St. Louis Cardinals back when Chris Taylor hit that walk-off home run and effectively immediately resulted his termination as the Cardinals manager. And maybe he carried that grudge over into becoming the Padres manager. Then obviously the Dodgers knocked out the Padres in the NLDS last season. So I'm sure there's just a lot of unhappy campers right now on the Padres side of things. I didn't like the way they were throwing at Ohtani. It felt a little bush league to me. You've got a guy that's working his way back into becoming a starting pitcher. And one of those pitches, if it were to hit his shoulder or his elbow, that could have thrown his entire comeback out the window.
The Dodgers you know what? Losing 11-1 was surprising enough. I was like, oh, this series a few weeks back is going to be pretty competitive. And then you got the Mets losing by 5 already. So never mind that. But yeah, like you said, everybody was dodging pitches, I guess, huh?
Yeah. I think when it comes to that whole thing, you said it exactly right. Like, I felt like it was the first time I said, "Ooh, that was bush league" in a while. Like a lot of times, okay, he wasn't throwing that. Oh, but when I saw that was my initial, like, that's the words that came out. I'm like, I don't know, I don't like that. But you know, it is what it is with that. And of course you're gonna. But yeah, 8 ejections. That's pretty intense. Yes, the Mets down 5-0 in the 5th. They're going through their struggles right now for sure.
Yeah, unfortunately.
they got their win yesterday, but we got to stay.
All those home
Stay with
runs,
it.
they just seem to get it out of their system.
Yeah. When it comes to Kevin, like question for you on your end. So like obviously now we just had the writ on from the Pesky podcast, and we were talking about all things Red Sox and the big trade with Devers going to the Giants and whatnot. And so because before the season it was like 3-team race, we got the Padres and we got the Diamondbacks, and now all of a sudden the Giants are there as well. So it makes it for great baseball. Poor Rockies, like who did they ever do wrong to be in a division with that much talent? But so like kind of looking in the crystal ball, do you feel like your competition is in your own division in terms of like getting to that World Series spot, that championship trophy again? Or are you looking teams like the Mets, the Phillies, the Cubs as the top competition?
Yeah, it feels like it's a 4-horse race right now. The Dodgers, the Mets, the Phillies, and the Cubs. I feel like it's going to be one of those 4 that win the NL pennant. I just don't buy the Padres. I don't think they have the starting pitching depth to make it to a World Series. And then Arizona Diamondbacks got crippled with injuries, so I was high on them, and I had to rule them out with the Corbin Burns, Tommy John, and AJ Puck. And then San Francisco, I just have not seen enough from them yet. Remains to be seen how much of an impact Rafael Devers will make for the San Francisco Giants. But I still need to see a little bit more from them to consider them a real perennial contender.
So I got a couple things that I'd like to kind of bring to the table. As you know, I lived in California 16 years, went to a lot of games at Dodger Stadium. Still a very pretty / Padres, and then one about a player for the Dodgers. What the Padres did was Bush League. I am all about playing tough and physical and throwing the ball inside. But that just reeked of, we got beat last year. We're going to try to make the superior team play down to our level. There's a reason why the Padres struggle every year and will just barely make the playoffs. The Padres are trying to get into a gang fight with the Dodgers, and the Dodgers are best served not just to ignore it, but you know what? If you're going to hit Ohtani, there's got to be a backbencher on, and here's a guy, Michael Conforto, hitting 147. Go out there and punch somebody in the head. Prove yourself. Seriously, I played college football, coached college football, and I was head of hockey operations for a junior hockey team. You would have 1 or 2 guys on a backbench of your hockey team. That was their job. You can't have guys throwing. Now, look, you can throw at his ribs. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You can do that. Ball gets away, but not anywhere near that arm. It was
they
no
took away
class.
The sportsmanship, and I'm glad to see that they were handing out suspensions.
Yeah.
Suarez was issued, a 3-game suspension, I think. So maybe the punishment should have been a little more severe, a little bit stricter, honestly, because like you said, the ball gets away from you. We've seen things happen. I can't pitch for the hell of it. It's going to hit somebody in the stands. But we want to see, sportsmanship. That's why you're the elite. You're getting paid millions of dollars because you are the best of the best. It is the ultimate, and we want to see this. And yeah, you can have a rivalry. You can have bad blood, as you said, without being unsportsmanlike. It was just Bush League is the epitome of it. Absolutely.
I want to get both you guys around the panel opinion. I'm apologize if I'm getting a little darker. The lighting out where I'm at is not the best. So there was a play in the Mets game last week. So I know it's not Dodger related, but I want to get your thoughts, both you and Jake as well, and Darren. So and I understand things happen. You make bonehead mistakes, but so Francisco Alvarez was the catcher for the Mets.
Oh, garbage.
That's all I have to say. So the ball in the dirt doesn't get past him. The runner is halfway to third base. Alvarez looks at the runner and decides in that moment, I'm going to throw the ball to second base and not throw the ball to third base. The runner gets to third, and then all heck breaks loose and go from there. So I guess first, Kevin, your thoughts on that. Like, when can we understand, okay, mistakes happen versus like stuff that you would get mad at Little League? Like, I felt like that I was going off my rocker when I saw it happen.
I mean, is all that correlated to the New York Mets deciding to demote him back to AAA?
100%. 100%.
That is a big one. I mean, he has 3 home runs and 10 RBIs, and so that's part of it. But yeah, that was a big one. Yeah.
So I sniped this guy earlier this afternoon when the news broke that he was demoted, because this is the same guy that was talking and barking in the offseason saying that the Mets have a better Dodgers lineup, and I guess that didn't age well for him because he got demoted.
No.
He's a power hitter who has no power this season, and then you make such a blunder like that. You see all the injuries. When I saw the announcement earlier, I was like, oh yeah, there's no doubt that the suspension, and bringing him down to AAA is demotions happen, and this one feels deserved, unfortunately.
If you watch the TV show Shorzy, stay with me on this. The last 10 minutes of this season, he talked about effort, and he just tries to backhand everything. He has no lateral movement. He was brought up as a defensive genius who can hit for power, and he's doing neither. And then the fact that he threw behind that runner was inexcusable. My coaches used to always tell me, I don't mind a physical error, but you know what? No mental errors.
Yeah. And
that was a mental error, a big blunder. That's like an outfielder not knowing how many outs there are, and he gets the ball and throw it in the stands. It's unforgivable. You can't have it. And Kevin, seriously, how is Michael Conforto still on that team?
I think it's pretty simple. They gave him $17 million, and they don't want to just eat it this early in the season. I'm guessing by the time the trade deadline rolls around, I don't think he's going to be on the Dodgers anymore.
Agreed. But I got to tell you, watch out for the Giants. I mean, with Devers there, and you know this, with what we've gotten, they can get on a roll. I mean, the Dodgers have a much better roster. But those fans up in San Francisco, they're legit. That's a tough place to play come September.
Definitely.
Hey, Road Tripper. How are you, my friend?
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm so glad to see you. I know you had a road trip. We got to have you back on. I know you recently went to see Tampa and Sacramento. And his dog's barking next to me, so I apologize for that.
Certainly beautiful out there. Must have been a hell of a trip, that's for certain. My co-host Cody, he is a live and breathing, dying Mets fan, so you have to have him on at some point to talk. He
absolutely
is the Mets guy. He really took it hard this weekend, so he was happy last night, but not so much today. I got to check in on him and make sure he's still breathing at this point.
It's a long season. We'll be fine.
Yeah, like this, I don't know if you can see, but this was full. Well, no, the lighting's bad, but full with cookies earlier in the week. But after these last 6 or 7 games,
you just gotta.
Mm-hmm. When it comes to, and again, sorry for this dog barking to next me, but Kevin, so when it comes to going into the season with the starting rotation, what it was like so loaded. We knew you guys were getting Ohtani back, but now he's back. He's probably going to do, move up to 2 innings and eventually up to 3 innings. But what do you think, for those that may not know, like when it comes to the postseason, of course, there will be a postseason. How far is he going to be stretched out, you think? Like, is he someone that's going to pitch 6 innings in a postseason game? Or what are you thinking? I mean, I know that's a couple of months from now, but do you think he can actually go the distance in a game? Or
absolutely. As long as there's no injuries or setbacks, by the time the playoffs roll around, Shohei Ohtani should be able to go 5, hopefully 6 innings. The way they're building him up right now is definitely a very slow burn. He didn't even throw 20 pitches today in his most recent start against the Nationals. But I have full confidence that Ohtani will be a playoff starter for the Dodgers, and he'll fully be stretched out. Assuming everyone's healthy, Yamamoto and Snell are probably games 1 and 2. And then Ohtani, I would pretty much confidently say he'll probably be their 3rd starter. And then we kind of got a nice battle going for that 4th starter once the playoffs roll around.
I think, obviously Mets fan, whatever, but like right now, like if I had to take my fandom out of it or whatnot, it'd be hard. I'd be hard pressed to not say I'm intrigued with the Dodgers Tigers World Series. In terms of Obviously, Flaherty moving over to the Tigers and all that kind of stuff. But I feel like it's going to be it's a possibility. But we're up for a good. Let's just say this: there's a lot of teams still in contention, and that's always good for baseball when that many teams are relevant this late into the season, for sure. So it's exciting, and I know with ESPN's coverage of MLB coming to an end at the end of this season.
Thank goodness.
Yes, thank goodness, and hopefully they can, get some better commentators on these Apple games and these YouTube games and these Roku games and all that.
I can't
kind of
watch
stuff.
them.
Yeah, it's it's bad. Did you guys happen to see? And we won't get into the specifics of it, obviously, but I think choice in terms of the accidental slur from Chip Carey there with the. They went to 30 seconds of dead air and then they kind of corrected it. So no punishment, I believe, which is, obviously it was a mistake.
There shouldn't be. That was a clear slip of the tongue. I mean, you can tell, but it was just very unfortunate. Very unfortunate.
Mistakes happen. Mistakes happen.
That they do, as we've seen.
Yeah.
The word he was trying to say, flag, you could see that happening, unfortunately. It happens.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. And I want to mention this comment from Rich Ridhipper. Dodgers could almost have an all-stars bullpen in the playoffs. A lot of flexibility for them to have long relief or just fresh power arms that are used to starting. So I want to ask this question. So thank you for mentioning that. So Kevin, let me ask you this. So as a Dodgers fan, right, let's just say that you're loaded in the rotation. Let's just say all the stars align and everyone's healthy and stuff. Would you prefer your 4 or 5, your 6, quote unquote 6 starter to get some of those spots versus some of the middle relief that you've had all season? Like if it means some of them don't get to make that postseason roster to have, because some teams you see 3, 4 deep and then the other guys don't make a series or whatever. But I feel like a team as deep as the Dodgers are, it'd be best in their best interest to keep all of them in some way. And I know that's not their typical role, but in the postseason, you do what all it takes to win. What are your thoughts on that?
It's almost like the Dodgers have developed some of these guys who are were starters in the minors, so they have that trait, but they've been coming out of the bullpen for the Dodgers this season. Ben Kasparius is a perfect example as a guy who naturally came up through the minors as a starting pitcher and has kind of turned into a combination of multi-inning / high leverage arm for the Dodgers. And then another guy who was brand new, he's a rookie, Jack Dreyer. He has the ability to pitch multiple innings. So you might see some notable names like a Dustin May left off the postseason roster, because I don't know if his stuff will play out of the pen. Even Clayton Kershaw, that will be an interesting discussion.
Yeah.
Do you have Clayton Kershaw start playoff games, or do you have him come out of the bullpen and maybe a low leverage spot? So that'll actually be an interesting storyline if Tyler Glasnow were to stay healthy, because those are the two kind of near the back end right now. You can only really have 4 playoff starters. So will they go Glasnow or Kershaw?
But, let's unpack that for a second, because I think that's spot on, Kevin. And no false praise here. Like, a lot of people would not have the guts to bring that up. But he's not one of the top 4 starters right now. But, however, you put him in a situation where, for example, the Dodgers give up 5 early runs, and he just comes in there, stop the bleeding, and eat some innings so the Dodgers come back. That would be perfect. Who wouldn't want Kershaw doing that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. And there's just something nice about the fact that he'll be able to, potentially finish his career with the team he started with. You just don't see that. And I will say this, I think to the end of the day is like we talked about a little bit earlier on the show about R.A. Dickey is in terms of the Mets, as far as the short 2-year span, probably the best pitcher in Mets history for a 2-year span, not obviously overall. He wouldn't be in the top 10, but for that 2-year span. When it comes to the Dodgers, Kershaw, I think he's the best pitcher of my generation. In terms of now, maybe it's because I've seen him in Vero Beach so often before he at a very, very young age to see what he did. But for periods of time there, and I know I've seen guys like DeGrom and stuff like that, but Clayton Kershaw, the best of the best, and hopefully he gets to stay on that team in whatever role it can be, and stay there and be, because he still be effective in whatever. And I think Darren, you nailed it. Stopping the bleeding, if that's what it is, then he has a role for that for sure. So,
hey, Kevin, actually, Mike just brought up an interesting question. Not that there's no right or wrong, but you look at Kershaw, you look at Fernando Valenzuela. Who do you put? Who do you put? I mean, you can't say both. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, who had a bigger impact, would you say?
Like on the field?
Yeah.
Oh, Clayton Kershaw. It's not even close, to be honest. I mean, Clayton Kershaw has the best ERA
Let's
of
argue
the
that.
modern
I'm
era.
saying let's not argue so much, but let's kind of talk about it. I mean, Fernando was just a phenom, wasn't he? I mean, and don't get me wrong, I love both players, and I probably agree with you. But that, Mike brought up 1 or 2 years. It was tough to find a better pitcher, maybe J.R. Richard, during that time, 81, 82, 80, whatever, it's 83, who's better, period.
Yep.
But but you're right. You are not wrong. But I found those two very interesting because they both were so Mr. Dodger,
Yeah, for sure. And Tony says the all Japanese playoff rotation of the Dodgers is going to do crazy numbers on TV overseas. This game is growing, and we've seen pro national competitions. Yep, 4 nations. Yep, definitely. Well said, Tony. That's so true. It is growing, and I want to ask you, Jake, my final question. I know we got to get off here. It is time to sign things off. But Jake, my last question: who would you rather have on the mound, 50 Cent or Tiffany Stratton?
Oh God, poor Tiffany. She really threw that one sideways. But 50s, I feel like went to a different quadrant. So I'll take Miss Stratton. Plus the obvious. I mean, who's easier on the eyes? No doubt about it. But
yes,
I don't know if I can cuddle well with 50. But Tiffy, I'm telling you, it's Tiffy time. No, she at least had good fun with it. He kind of kept that going for a bit. She was like, yeah, that's not why I'm here.
Yeah, she had the belt and all that stuff. So
exactly.
Well, thank you, Jake, so much. We'll definitely have you
so
on
much.
for a wrestling content show too, and other stuff too. But thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for joining us. My co-host will be thrilled that I was talking to you guys. As I said, he's a huge Mets fan and big fan of the show, so it's great to see you guys continue to gain success and grow up, and I only wish you that much more. So, guys, thank you.
And I've been keeping an eye on your stuff for many years. I know some other shows you've been on throughout the years and stuff, and so
I've been all over the place, but focusing on myself finally. So thank you guys so much for having me. I appreciate it, and keep up the great work. I'm going to go over the top rope.
Yes, thank you. And Kevin, thank you so much as well. Really appreciate you being part of this night, and we'll continue. I see your posts every day and follow what you do, yeah, definitely. So just thank you. Appreciate being a part of this, and we will talk to you soon, brother.
All right. Thank you, Darren and Mike.
Thank you very much, Kevin.
On the
very much.
Thank you. Oops. He accidentally hit the button. But all right, Darren, we have no more guests. We're gonna go. Oh, firework. Okay, not a gunshot. Okay. All right. So now we hit 71 viewers. I love how that happens. Okay. Well,
didn't you tell me Paul Orndorff was next? Or Fabulous Moolah. Who's next?
Betty White is in the queue right now.
Betty White. Betty White.
All right. Well, it's gonna seem on Thursday when we do Sean for the for bowling episode for doing 50 minutes is gonna seem like a cakewalk after tonight's podcast. But it was a lot of fun. Super good times.
So explain to me, with all of this wonderful thing, and Baseball Road Tripper, you hit it right on the head. I know we have to go, but he hit it right on the head. This game is growing exponentially. I mean, what the heck is going on here, people? And I know we have a lot of people watching, but in the comment sections, let me know, because this really annoyed me. I'm not looking for a joke here. This game is growing. WBC, 4 Nations, all of that. We have wonderful worldwide attention at this beautiful sport and others. I put on ESPN this morning, Sunday morning, and it's cornhole. They have cornhole on 2 channels. They actually, what's going on? They show tag. I mean, tag.
The spelling bee. It's.
What are we doing? Yes, Jake, thank you. But why cornhole?
It's true. Right? I mean, isn't that what ESPN 6 is for those kinds of things?
Well, that's what I thought. I mean,
I can respect a good cornholer. Like, you don't want to play people that live in those, over 55 communities, because they're like legit bosses when it comes to cornhole. Like, they'll throw the beanbag to the moon and it'll land in the hole every single time. I don't know how they do it.
What's it called, cornhole?
Yeah, I don't know.
What's it called, cornhole? I don't know. The whole thing I don't understand. It's just now look, don't get me wrong. I used to watch Wide World of Sports, but that was one day a week. They had Demolition Derby, Tug of War, World's Strongest Man. I get it. But on a Sunday prime time, let's go. You see this during the week. It's like, dude, I was watching, they had kickball. What are you doing?
Funnaball is next. The tetherball. It's going to be on ESPN3.
Yeah, I mean, come on, Ring Olivio. Let's go.
Yes, ESPN 8, the Ocho lives on. Yeah.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is they're wearing sponsor shirts. I mean, bless them. Great.
Yep. Yeah. Now, speaking of sponsors, we didn't get a chat with, but I'm sure we'll have Jake back on. Cornell gets the name.
Corn Corner. Oh, there you go.
I would throw bags through the hole.
Jake, thank you for that. I would have popped that thing right into the microwave and get me some butter.
Yep. It says, and Road Tripper somehow TV rates the sport are only thing holding MLB back. Bad deals for teams. Yep. Cord cutting and absolutely. And that is 1,000% true. Not just 100% true.
But then there's people living that lie. I'm sorry, living that lie that nobody's watching baseball, but people do.
Yeah, people are watching that. I'm sure. The watching tetherball. But well, thank you to the 75 of you on right now. That is the best number we've had in a while. We say thank you. All the guests we've had lined up tonight. Appreciate it very much. I'm going to go get some water and relax. This has been an absolute blast. Hitting 3,000. Thank each and every one of you. National Tax Solutions. Darren, thank you. It's been a blessing. And we will see you live Thursday night. Until then, see you around the ballpark. Bye, guys.